The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. And guys, this is in fact the immediate aftermath of Nick Ball and the Scousers, because Andrew Kane was in the ring going crazy, trying to fight everyone. So you gotta include the whole team. Nick Ball and the Scousers getting exposed by the heartbreaker Brandon Figueroa. Brandon Figueroa is, in fact, a new WBA featherweight champion. And once again, this division has been shaken up once more. I'm still fleshing up my thoughts. I'm not sure what to think. But before I even get into my talking points, before I even get into your comments, before I even talk about what this could mean in the short term and the long term for the featherweight division, let me tip my cap to Brandon Figueroa. Brandon Figueroa has had a very terrible run of form over the last couple of fights, over the last few years. And I've been hypercritical of the guy, right? And he came out here today, and it was a vintage Brandon Figueroa performance. It was the vintage heartbreaker. This was the guy that we saw fighting Carlos Castro, Luis Neri. He's not going to be ever high on some pound list, but he that pressure and that volume and just him getting downhill on his opponents for 12 rounds is tough to deal with. And, I thought Nick Ball would be able to deal with it. He almost did. He almost got out this fight, but, credit to Brandon Figueroa. He got there in the 12th round, and he wound up folding up Nick Ball right there in front of his hometown fans. And the witness protection plan, the Nick Ball witness protection plan that I've been telling you guys about for like the last year and a half is finally over. So, we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure if it's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing right now, because I don't think Figueroa is going to unify next, but we shall see. Only time will tell. But shout out to everybody here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed the fights today. Make sure you guys go ahead and smash that like button if you're watching live, and if you're watching the playback, definitely smash the like button, and definitely let me know where you're watching from, what city, what state, what continent, where you guys watch from. I want to see how international we are on the broadcast. Listen, I'm going to be here for about 2 hours. I got 2 hours to flesh out my thoughts about Brandon Figueroa and Nick Ball. And then we got to move on. We got to move on to the next thing. But while we're here, let's take some time to acknowledge the let's take some time to acknowledge the fine folks that are already here making their presence felt and well known. Shout out to my man Matt Borgeson with the super chat. He says the new title for this video: Scousers do get knocked out and exposed by the heartbreaker. The Mexican beatdown of the British champions continues as usual. And I changed it. I changed the title just for you, Matt. So the title now is the immediate aftermath of Nick Ball and the Scousers getting exposed by the heartbreaker Brandon Figueroa. Yeah, Andrew Kane had a great fight with Alejandro Gonzalez on the undercard. We'll get to that later on. But man, he's over there trying to fight Brandon Figueroa's team. Listen, man, it ain't their fault. Nick Ball couldn't handle the pressure. That's your boy's fault, So shout out to him. Matt Borgeson says the 126 has become the Inoue waiting room division. I didn't always agree with that. I'm to that point now where I am like that, because now you got and we'll use that to pivot into our first talking point. Thank you for the super chats, Matt. We'll use that to pivot into our first talking point, because yes, Nick Ball has been exposed. Brandon Figueroa is in fact the new WBA champion, right? And we'll go to screen share actually, because I got some things I want to share with you guys, because I mentioned this before the fight. Hold on. Let's go to screen share right quick. Shout out to everybody here. Let me go to screen share. So go to entire screen, hit the share button, all that blase. Now look, so we'll go back to Bruce Carrington here in a second. But look, I was tweeting about the fight live. I wanted to go live, but I woke up a bit late, so my bad, guys. But I decided to do a live anyway. So I was tweeting during the fight. I was tweeting my thoughts during the fight. What I was thinking, observations, things like that. And by the way, if you don't follow me on Twitter, I'm not the most active on there, but as far as tweeting, but I'm on there a lot. So at True School Sports, if you want to get me, hit me up on the X or hit me up on the Twitter. But look, I said this right here, but before the fight started, while both guys are making the ring walks, I made a note of this because I knew there's always a possibility Brandon Figueroa could win. So I said, look, I stated the following, and I quote: before this Nick Ball fight starts, it's worth noting that Brandon Figueroa is trained by Manny Robles, who also happens to train the WBO featherweight champion Rafael Espinoza. if Figueroa wins, this could be a potential roadblock for featherweight unification. Now, that's what I believe. I believe it probably will be. So I think one or two things are gonna happen. Either A, you'll get like some scenario of, Angelo Leo fighting Espinoza and Shushu fighting Figueroa, or you'll get Shushu fighting. You'll get Bruce Carrington fighting Espinoza, and you'll get Angelo fighting Figueroa. You could get that scenario where both guys in the division don't fight each other because they have the same trainer, right? Or what this could do, this might force Rafael Espinoza to move up to 130. Maybe Manny Robles isn't interested in that scenario. He wants to train both guys. He won't train both guys at the same weight class. So now maybe Espinoza goes up to 130, because if you look at the landscape at 130, in fact, we'll go right here. If you look at the landscape at 130 pounds, look, later on this month, you got the WBO champion, Vaquero Navarrete, fighting the IBF champion, Eduardo Sugar Nunez. Those are two Mexican fighters. You can't tell me that Espinoza versus either Navarrete or Nunez wouldn't be big time, blockbuster fights for Mexican fighters in the 130-pound division, and it'd be a chance for Espinoza to become a two-division champion, not have to cut as much weight, right? Factor in also ranked there at number 6, because a lot of people, this gets lost on a lot of people. Even Ade Oladipo, who was interviewing Brandon Figueroa, he mentioned Venado Lopez, who's not even a featherweight anymore. Venado Lopez is now officially a 130-pound fighter. He's ranked in multiple sanctioning organizations as a 130-pounder. So he's not a featherweight anymore. He can't make the weight, right? And remember, if you guys remember, but before Venado Lopez got knocked out to the 10th dimension against Angelo Leo, the fight at featherweight that was talked about, that was supposed to be the fight, was supposed to be Venado Lopez versus Espinoza. Who's to say that they don't revisit those talks and revisit that fight at 130 pounds? So I think one of those two scenarios is going to play out. Either A, you'll get the non-Manny Robles trained fighters, which is Shushu Carrington and Angelo Leo, fighting his stable of featherweight champions, which is Brandon Figueroa and Espinoza, and or this might be what Espinoza finally needs to go to 130 pounds. So I say all that to say and pose a question to you guys: is the featherweight division, is the hopes and dreams for boxing fans to start seeing these big time unification fights, is it ruined? Because I do think, it's going to be a lot harder for things to run as smoothly with two of the champions being trained by the same trainer. It just is. I'm sorry. Like, you can throw out all the scenarios you want of fighters with the same trainer fighting each other, but I'm sorry, like, the division is not going to run as smoothly as it would have if Nick Ball would have won the fight. So it is what it is. Nick Ball clearly wasn't good enough to win on this particular day. And the long-standing tradition of Mexican fighters and Mexican-American fighters beating up on UK fighters on UK soil, it continues. So I know a lot of British boxing fans. I know a lot of you guys get very pissed off when people bring that up, but people wouldn't bring it up so much if UK fighters would win more against Mexican and Mexican-American fighters. So I'm going to leave it at that. Shout out to everybody here. Let me go to the comments. I know you guys probably got some interesting comments in the chat. Let me see. Let me go up because I know I missed quite a few. Shout out to my man right here. He says, it's up for Leo and Shushu to take them out. I agree, man. And listen, I think Angelo and Bruce are very, very capable fighters of doing that. I mean, they both, I would say, if you're talking about, because Espinoza and Figueroa, they have a lot of similarities. I think Espinoza is a bit more skillful than Figueroa. I think Figueroa, you know what he is. He's a guy that's straight up and down. He wants to get downhill on you. He wants to push the pace, and he wants to have a high volume of punches and place those shots to the body. I think Espinoza has more skill than Figueroa, but they have the same philosophies. So yeah, I think it's interesting. It's a very intriguing time for the division. The best man won, simple as that. Great fight, yeah, man. But it goes to show you, it goes to show you, and we'll get to Nick Ball later, but like Nick Ball, I was very critical of him fighting all these 122 pounders. And I always tell you guys, you can tell a lot about what promoters think about their fighters by how they're getting matched. And, yeah, some of those 122 pounders were good names and champions and undefeated guys. So they're not bad fighters, but, It was one after another, after another, after another. How poetic is it? And I'll go back to Twitter, actually, because I put this on my Twitter account. Going back to screen share. How poetic is it, guys? Because you had Nick Ball fighting Ronnie Rios, who was a blown-up 122-pounder, right? You had, who else did he fight? He fought TJ Doheny, another blown-up 122-pounder, right? You had, what's his name? Sam Goodman, who I like a lot, who I thought, maybe did enough to deserve the nod against Nick Ball. He was a very competitive fight. But again, nonetheless, he had never fought a featherweight. So a blown-up 122-pounder, that's 3 blown-up 122-pounders. How poetic is it that the first fighter that Nick Ball fought in his title reign that was actually a featherweight, he wound up getting stopped and damn near beat out the ring. So you can't, it's poetic justice. And like it says here on the screen, you can't witness protection your way to greatness. You can't fool me. I knew Nick Ball's time was inevitably going to come. I didn't think it would be today because Brandon Figueroa, he just hadn't really shown much in his last, 2 or 3 fights. So congrats to him. He's worked very hard for this. I'm sure of it because, like I said, he has had the best performances. Credit to him, right? There's been a lot of discussion in boxing about Teofimo Lopez and his dad, right? Like over the last couple of months in boxing, you've had Teofimo Lopez. People are calling for Teofimo Lopez to fire his dad and make a tough decision so he can advance his career. Same thing with Brian Pillman Jr. back in November. A lot of people were saying Brian Pillman Jr. needs to get rid of Brian Pillman Sr. to advance his career. Well, guess what, guys? Brandon Figueroa, much to his credit, he had been trained by his dad for the duration of his career, and his first fight with Manny Robles was the Stephen Fulton fight, and this was a second camp with Manny Robles, right? And he made a tough decision. He even lost one of those fights after making that tough decision, and he stuck to his guns. He believed in the process, and look, it's went ahead and it's paid off for him. So, you got to give credit because a lot of these fighters are having a hard time moving on from their fathers. This guy actually did. He actually suffered a loss in the process, trusted the process, believed in his coach, listened to his coach, and now he's world champion again. So you got to give credit where credit is due. I'm not against Brandon like that. Shout out to Brandon. Shout out to everybody. Let me see. Did y'all notice Nick Ball's teammate kicked Brandon's cornerman in the leg during celebrations? They're so losers. Yeah, that was Andrew Kane. He had a really exciting fight on the undercard against Alejandro Gonzalez, where he got dropped and got up the canvas and then came back and stopped a very tough fighter. But emotions were running high. I'm sure he didn't enjoy seeing his friend get punched up out the ring, and it got the better of him. So it is what it is. Nick Ball have to regroup. I think Leo Figueroa should be made. This was a fight that Fulton got in the way of. Yeah, this is a fight that was talked about a lot by PBC back in the day. It's a fight I would like to see. Obviously, 2 very good pressure fighters, 2 very good body punchers. I know it was a fight that was discussed, but sometimes for certain matchups, it's just not that time. And now that Figueroa has a belt, it's a possible fight. So I'm not against it. Figueroa's earned the right to get a fight with any of the champions. Shout out to my guy Matt Borgeson with the super chat. He says, if you want an amazing title defense, Sebastian Hernandez Reyes versus Figueroa, imagine that fight. That would be an amazing hometown defense. I didn't really think too much about that fight, to be honest, because Sebastian Hernandez Reyes is a 122-pounder. But you know what? I'll say this about that fight. Sebastian Hernandez Reyes was screwed. In my opinion, he was screwed royally against Junta Nakatani. And you guys know, I got a Japanese flag on my wall. I fuck with the Japanese, but really and truthfully, I call it like it is. I thought Sebastian Hernandez Reyes won that fight clearly, and they didn't give it to him because they got this big Inoue Nakatani fight already booked for the Tokyo Dome, so they weren't gonna let him get in the way of that. If Brandon Figueroa sees it in his heart to give that guy an opportunity, I think it'd be a very fun fight. Those are 2 fighters that like to get on that front foot and pressure you. So he wants to bring a fight to his Texas fans. That'd be a fun fight. But really, what I really want, I guess I'll use that to pivot into my next talking point. Thank you for the super chat, Matt. What I'll say about Brandon Figueroa and what I would like to see, right? And obviously he's a champion, so he's going to be able to do what he wants for the first defense. I mean, most champions get that opportunity. Normally, when you're a champion and you get that first voluntary defense, you pick whoever you want, unless you're Angelo Leo and the promoters don't believe in you and they don't really invest like they should and they make you go across the country to Japan. Then you don't get that opportunity, unfortunately. So you gotta be in unfavorable circumstances. But most champions, they get that opportunity, right? So if he fights in Texas, yeah, I would like to see him fight Joet Gonzalez, because I felt like Joet Gonzalez beat him when they fought last year. Joet Gonzalez isn't Joet from Texas? I could be wrong, but isn't Joet Gonzalez a Tex? Isn't he from Texas, or is he from Cali? Let me see. I'm pretty sure he's from Cali. Yeah, he's from Cali, so I'm tripping. He's from Joet Gonzalez is from Glendora, California. But look, either way, that's two pressure Mexican-American fighters. You know how Joet's going to come to fight. He's going to come and bring the action, because that's the kind of fighter he is. I know I'm not alone, and all 91 of you here, you guys can feel free to let me know what you think. I thought Joet beat Brandon Figueroa clearly when they fought, and Joet's just one of them guys. He doesn't get the benefit of the doubt in most occasions. He didn't get it really against Isaac Dogbe, not against Brandon Figueroa, and there's a couple other fights as well that were kind of close. So I would like to see that fight. I think that'd be a good hometown defense for Brandon. It's a guy that's credible. It's a guy that's fought for the world title. It's a guy that he's fought before, so they had that familiarity. But we'll see how it goes. What do you guys think? I was very frustrated watching the Nick Ball fight, because I was thinking to myself, I was like, damn, Joet Gonzalez has been one of these hard luck fighters in boxing throughout his career, and really and truthfully, like, I thought Joet would have beat Nick Ball today, the Nick Ball that showed up today. And so I was frustrated watching the fight. But again, Brandon won. Why not revisit it? Because the way Brandon was talking, I mean, we'll see what happens, because you never know what kind of offers promoters will make. And he just won the title like 5 minutes ago. But honestly, unless a big deal comes into where he's gonna have to fight a unification fight, I think he's going to get a voluntary defense probably in his hometown, and it'll be against someone probably not as good as Joet and not as good as Sebastian Hernandez-Reyes. So we'll see how it all pans out. We'll see how it all shakes out. Shout out to my boy Justin Todd with the super chat. He says Ball will bounce back. Shout out to Figueroa. He went ahead and he used his length. He did. To his credit, he did. He used his length a lot more in this fight, and what I'll say about Brandon's performance that I liked is I liked how he managed his energy in this fight, because the last couple of fights he just hasn't been showing the IQ needed to compete, let alone win. This fight, he used his length a bit more. Still jab is still lacking. He's not a guy with a great jab or anything like that, but it was effective enough for Nick Ball. And he picked his spots when to close the gap and be that volume puncher that everybody knows him for. So yeah, new champion. But yeah, I want to see the Joet fight. What do you guys think? My man said Joet Gonzalez certainly won that fight. I think so. My man right here says Figueroa is going to fight Mirko Cuello. I don't think so, because Mirko Cuello right now, he's actually in negotiations. It was reported that he's in negotiations to fight Tomohiro Kameda. He's going to defend that interim title against Tomohiro Kameda in Kyrgyzstan. So we'll see how it goes. If Brandon makes Mirko Cuello an offer, and Team Cuello feels like it's a sufficient enough offer, then I'm sure they'll pull out of those negotiations and go fight Brandon. But I don't know. Mirko Cuello's that's a tough out, honestly. Shout out to Al the Pal. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Adam said he had a 7-inch height advantage. 5'9" guys should have be at featherweight. These guys starve themselves to get an advantage. They do, but look, man, it takes two to tango. So if Frank Warren and all his great matchmakers that were picking all those 122 pounders, if they felt confident enough in their guy Nick Ball to get the job done, then I can't really say much about it. They made a miscalculation, and Brandon made him, Frank Warren, people like myself, and many people eat their words today, and that's what boxing's all about. That's why the fighters fight the fights. That's why we watch the fights. 126. There are so many guys. Anyone can lose. A lot of cherry picking robberies wins won't go unpunished. Yeah, I mean, Ball was getting popped up too much. And you know what? Hold on. We'll go to my next talking point because this has to be stated. This has to be stated. I like Nick Ball. Let me first tip my cap to Nick Ball because I've enjoyed many of his fights. You know, he's a good fighter. But man, like I've been saying it since like at least last June because it was because I made a video about it last June. I remember I was in Japan when I made a video about it. You can't witness protection your way to greatness, and I want to just pull it up real quickly for Nick Ball because he won this fight against Raymond Ford. Well, actually, let's start off with Ray Vargas, right? So he beats Ray Vargas, or he got a draw against Ray Vargas. I actually thought he beat Ray Vargas, so I thought he should have won that fight. All right, but then he fights Raymond Ford, very close fight, could have went either way. A lot of people were crying robbery for Nick Ball in that fight, or a robbery for Raymond Ford, I should say, in that fight. I didn't feel bad, not one bit, for Raymond Ford in that fight because Raymond Ford took about 5 rounds to get started and took about 5 rounds to make any adjustments. So you talk about a guy who gets all this praise for having this extremely high boxing IQ, and in that fight, his boxing IQ was severely lacking. His lack of boxing IQ cost him that Nick Ball fight. So I don't, it was a close fight. It could have went either way. I'm not really bothered about that fight, to be honest with you. But then, okay, so he has 2 really good fights, and then he goes on this run. You fight Ronnie Rios, a 122-pounder. You fight TJ Doheny, a 122-pounder, coming off of a loss to Naoya Inoue. You fight Sam Goodman, who I love as a fighter. I think Sam Goodman is an absolutely brilliant fighter, right, at 122. And I thought he actually did enough to beat Nick Ball. And 2 of these scorecards here are very misleading. So just this whole run right here from October of 2024 to August of 2025, he's just fighting these 122-pounders. And it was a concerted effort from Queensberry Promotions to protect him from the likes of Rafael Espinoza, Angelo Leo, Stephen Fulton when he had the belt, and now Bruce Carrington, right? So at the end of the day, like, the boxing ring is a chamber of truth, and you could have the best managers in the world. You could have the best promoters in the world. You could have everybody looking after your best interest. But at the end of the day, the fighter has to be good enough to win the fights. And Nick Ball, like, as exciting as he is, and he's still a quality fighter. I'm not saying he can't come back. I'm not throwing him to the wayside. I'm not saying that he can't be champion again. I'm sure he can be champion again. Because I'm sure Rafael Espinoza in the not so distant future is going to vacate that WBC title, right? Or WBO title, I should say. He's going to vacate the WBO title. So Nick, believe you me, Nick Ball is going to get another shot. But like I said, a lot of people try to tell me that Nick Ball was. There was a lot of people telling me that Nick Ball was like the best featherweight in the world. That he could beat Inoue. And I was just telling you, like, nah, he's good, but he's not on that level. And the fact, and I was even saying during the fight, like watching it with my dad, like, Brandon Figueroa is a strong, durable, determined fighter, but he's not necessarily a skillful fighter, And the fact that Nick Ball was fighting with him tooth and nail, even if you would have got out of this fight, I still would have said like, hey, that's a red flag. Like, you shouldn't, if you're on that level with some of these other guys in the division, this is a guy that you should be able to beat definitively. But it is what it is. It's the fight game. It's the fun of it. You never know what could happen on a fight by fight basis. So. They said, so Ford is witness protection. I mean, if you want to call a spade, when the night that Ford beat Otabek Komatov, and I was there, it was March 2nd, 2024. Great fight. Still to this day, the best performance of his career. The night that he beat Komatov, Ford said that he was weight drained and could not make featherweight anymore. The only reason he stayed at featherweight was because the Saudis and Turki Al-Sheikh made him an offer he couldn't refuse. And he took the fight and he lost. I'm not saying that it was a robbery. I think it could have went either way. I think Ford came on strong towards the end. He did enough to warrant a decision, but they didn't give it to him, and that's what it is. I thought that he took about 4.5 to 5 rounds too long to make an adjustment, and yeah, that's what it is. My man right here says, "How about we get Angelo Leo versus Rafael Espinoza next?" I would love nothing more, because everyone says that he's the danger man of the division, and people are scared of him, and nobody's scared of him. Like, I would love that fight. You guys already know what I think about that fight. Espinoza is gonna get put on his back if they fight. So, you know, I hope whether it's Espinoza, Leo, Espinoza, Carrington, Figueroa, Leo, Figueroa, Carrington. I don't care who it is. It's to the point now where the division needs unification fights. You understand? I'm now in the crowd with a lot of you guys. I'm now with you guys, because now it's like, now you got another guy who just became champion who's gonna want a hometown defense, and then you got 3 other champions who have all had a defense or more than one, and it's now that time where they need to fight for unification. So no messing about. My man says, so a lot of you guys are mentioning Inoue at featherweight. I mean, listen, Inoue at featherweight is still what I want to see. I've been talking about Inoue at featherweight for 2 years now. The Junto fight is cool. You know, it'll be a great event out there in Japan. I've lost a little excitement for the fight just because I feel like Junto lost his last fight, and he really should be running it back with Sebastian Hernandez-Reyes. But I know that's not going to happen because the Japanese already have this venue on hold. They already want to, you know, go ahead and do the big fight. So I get it. But that being said, Figueroa, Figueroa, another tall, high volume punching, long torso fighter. You guys know what I say about these long torso fighters with Inoue. I don't think those guys can really do much with him. But again, Brandon Figueroa, he has that pace, man. Like, it don't look the prettiest. It ain't the most effective, or it ain't the prettiest. It doesn't look the most pleasing. But with certain fighters, if you can't get his respect, if you don't have the skills, the legs, the counter punching to deal with that for 12 rounds, you might be cooked. You know. My man says, I interviewed Ford personally. About what? What did you interview Ford about? What did he say about Ford? Espinoza might be weight drained by the time he fights Inoue. Do you think that's a possibility? Forget Inoue. I think any one of his next few fights, he could be weight drained for featherweight, because he's big. He's 6'1". You know, he's 6'1". I know before he fought Edward Vasquez, I know that he just had hired a nutritionist. So I know that he's dotting his T's and putting his best efforts forward to make the weight in a healthy manner. But really and truthfully, Rafael Espinoza, like, just the physics, the it's there to be seen. Like, you know, your body's gonna inevitably outgrow the weight. Somebody said Espinoza and Leo are going to unify in May. I mean, we'll see, man. I mean, I'm in constant communication with Angelo and his dad, and right now that's not what I'm hearing. So I hope that that's what happened. I hope that's what happens, and we can get that fight, because that's a great fight for the division. It's an exciting fight for the division. It's a legacy fight for both guys. It's the Ring Magazine #1 versus the Ring Magazine #2 ranked featherweight in the world. So shit, let's run it. I'm with all that. You got to hear it from the horse's mouth. Ford never admitted to being weight drained. In fact, he said he felt his strongest at that weight. Well, then, okay. I'm going off of what he said when he beat Otabek Komotov March 2nd, 2024. On March 2nd, 2024, at the Turning Stone Casino, after the fight, when he became champion, he was already talking about going to 130 and how he was having how he's big for the weight and those kind of things. If you're saying that you interviewed him and he's saying he was strong, he was this, he was that, then that makes it worse. That means Nick Ball beat a very good Raymond Ford, and Raymond Ford just isn't as good as, you know, people think he is, right? And I give Ford his credit. He beat Otabek Komotov, who I didn't think he was going to beat. But I'm actually cutting Raymond Ford some slack by saying he was weight drained at featherweight, because he was making a big deal about it, you know, after the Komotov fight. Why is anyone so desperate for Inoue to go to featherweight after getting dropped twice at his current weight? Take Fenn said it a lot. because Naoya Inoue has already cleared out the 122-pound division. There's literally nothing there for him to fight. I like Junto. Junto's a fantastic fighter, and it's going to be a great event at the Tokyo Dome in May. But let's be real. If we're just going off of Junto as a 122-pounder, he ain't really proven shit. He fought Sebastian Hernandez-Reyes in his first fight there, and really he lost, and they gave it to him, and he didn't look good. So they created a 122-pounder for him out of thin air. That's what it is. So I'm with him at featherweight. I've been wanting to see Inoue at featherweight since he was fighting TJ Doheny, honestly. So a lot of you guys are making light of the fact. that that Bruce Carrington has called out what's his name, Brandon Figueroa. I mean, cool. He can go get it with Brandon. Angelo can go get it with Espinoza, and we'll do that. I ain't with it. I'm not against it at all. We're not getting into that. No, that's his natural weight. Okay, then what you're saying is Raymond Ford is not as good as advertised. Then that's what you got to say then, because he was when he fought Komatov. I didn't watch your interview. I don't to be honest, like, no disrespect. Like, I don't even know who you are. No disrespect, but from when he fought Komatov, I just remember him saying, "Yo, I can't make featherweight. I want to go to 130." Do I agree that Mexican boxing is the most exciting? I enjoy a lot of Mexican fighters. I mean, that's all up for interpretation. It depends on what you like. For most people, they would say Mexican boxing is the most excited. Some people like the slick counter-punching style of the Black Americans. Some people like the Japanese fighters. I mean, it all depends what you like. I like all the styles. People think that he did, Josh. 1,000%. He 1,000% got exposed. And hold on. I want to go back on Twitter because I want to observe what Shushu's out here saying, because Bruce Carrington, the new champion, he's out here calling Brandon Figueroa. Shout out to Brandon Figueroa, the newly crowned WBA featherweight champion. Make sure you guys get your thoughts down below. Smash the like button, subscribe, all that blase. It's your boy BT, the untouchable True School Sports Empire. We're trying to make sense of what the hell is going on with this featherweight division, because I feel like with Figueroa winning, the division is not going to run as smoothly as it would have if Ball would have won. That's just the truth. So here's Bruce Carrington. He said it right here. He said, "Wow," right here, 1 hour ago. "Wow, let's get it then, Figgy. Shushu versus Brandon Figueroa 2026. So I guess this is the part of the video where I ask you guys to chat, the viewers of True School Sports. What do you guys think about a potential Brandon Figueroa Bruce Carrington fight? Let me know in the chat. Someone says that Rafael Espinoza is under protection too. I mean, I've been saying it for a while. I like Rafael Espinoza. I think he's a fun fighter. I think he's good for boxing. Y'all are saying he's this killer, but like, you've been fighting the Arnold K guys and the Edward Vasquez's of the world. I don't know, man. The jury's out. He need to step up to the plate, and he's getting a bigger pass than everybody at featherweight. Shushu, Alapal says Shushu beats Figueroa, and so does Espinoza and Leo. Yeah, I would say for me, like, congrats to Brandon. Brandon's had a fantastic career. With the skill set he has, or lack thereof, to me, he's overachieved. He was a champion at 122 pounds. He was a very good fighter at 122 pounds. Now he went to the UK and he's become champion again. So to me, he's one of the few fighters in boxing that when he hangs his gloves up, he can say, you know what, I got every last ounce, every last bit of talent I possibly could have off of what God gave me. Right? He don't got to worry about that. But I would say, yeah, I think all the champions beat him. A lot of you, they can't even celebrate without being called out immediately. That's the fight game, man. That's the business we're in. When you win yeah, it's your moment, but there's always somebody lurking around the corner that wants their shot, that wants their shine. That's why, You can't hate on a fighter's greatness, right? Because it's a hard game. So many good fighters, so many guys that want your spot, and you never get a break. My man said Rafael Espinoza is actually fighting worse opponents than Nick Ball. You know what? Let's unpack that for a second. Let's unpack that, because I want to put the resumes side by side so we can actually really unpack that. What do you guys think? I'll pull the chat. Who do you guys think has fought worse opponents, Rafael Espinoza or Nick Ball? Now look, we'll go to screen share to try to make sense of this, right? So here we go. We'll go to screen share because I want to make sense of what he said. So we'll start with Rafael Espinoza, right? 28-0, 24 knockouts, regarded by many to be the best featherweight in the world, right, at this moment in time. And it all started. It all started when Rafael Espinoza burst onto the scene. I was there. It was out there in South Florida, late 2023, when he beat Robeisy Ramirez. I believe Rafael, I'm going to say Rafael was at least a, what was he? Let's see. Hold on. Let's pull it up. Rafael Espinoza odds. Because he was a pretty big underdog. Like, nobody was even really, like, very few people was giving him a chance. Like, none of the English-speaking media that was there during fight week before the fight interviewed him except me, right? So when you go to the Robeisy fight, he was a pretty sizable underdog. You know, you see it right here. Espinoza was plus 800. He closed. He was a plus 800. So he was an 8-1 underdog. So when it comes to the subject of a Robeisy Ramirez fight, the first fight, I will give him full credit because he was an obscure fighter. You know, a lot of people didn't really know much about him at that time, and he hadn't really fought anybody at that time, right? So he beats him, and he deserves all the credit in the world for the great classic fight that was. Now, we're not judging that fight. We're judging the title reign. From the minute he defended the belt, what has he done, right? So it all started with Sergio Trino Sanchez. Now, I covered this fight. I was there at the Fontainebleau. Sergio Trino Sanchez was a good counterpuncher, and he had his fair share of success as counterpunching Espinoza, but he didn't have the firepower, and he's one of these guys that has showed in his career that he has quit in him, right? He had a fight, and I'll show you. Look, he had a fight. Sergio Trino Sanchez, if you look at his resume, he had a fight. His only loss came in 2018 when he fought Mauricio Bronco Lara, and if you go and you watch this fight, Sergio Trino Sanchez quit in the corner. So Espinoza, he fought a quitter in his first title defense, with all due respect to Sergio Trino Sanchez, right? Not a skillful little boxer, didn't have the firepower, the durability, or the mindset to compete with Espinoza, let alone beat him, right? So not really much there. Now he fought Robeisy Ramirez again, and he made him quit. I will give him respect for that. Robeisy Ramirez is a fantastic fighter, but really, you fought the same guy that you beat for the belt, so it's the same person, right? Okay. After Robeisy, you fight Edward Vasquez, who is a good fighter. I like Edward Vasquez. Edward Vasquez is a very good 130-pounder, but Edward Vasquez is not a hard puncher at 130 pounds. So, he had a good fight with Joe Cordina. He had a fight with Raymond Ford. He's been right there in some of those fights, but he's never been able to get over the hump against those guys, due in large part to the fact that he's not a big puncher, right? So it was a calculated move for Espinoza to drag him down in weight, and so that he can look good on the Inoue Cardenas undercard, right? And then he fought Arnold K. Guy. Arnold K. Guy, an ex-kickboxer, a guy that is tough, right? His best quality about him is that he's tough, but in the skills department, doesn't really have much with him. K Guy lost to Joet Gonzalez, who a lot of you guys clown. He lost to Joet, he lost to Stephen Fulton. And outside of that, just a solid little fighter. So Rafa, for as big of a killer as you guys make Rafa out to be, he's fought some pretty soft competition. Just being honest. And I like Rafa, but that's just the truth. Now, Nick Ball, on the other hand, sure, Nick Ball hasn't fought. He fought a bunch of 122-pounders, right? When he became champion, but before he became champion, if you just look at Nick Ball before he became champion, he fought Isaac Dogbe, right? Dogbe, former world champion in his own right. Ray Vargas, world champion. Raymond Ford, coming out the Komatov fight, world champion. Just done 3 fights alone. Forget even the defenses. Just done 3 fights alone. I felt like Nick Ball fought tougher competition than Rafael Espinoza. Sure, Queensberry Promotions and Frank Warren, they started all that bullshit with the Ronnie Rios fight and Doheny and Goodman. But before we even got to that point, he fought some people. He fought, world champions, multiple world champions. So I'm going to actually agree with my guy Afro Jam. I think Rafael Espinoza has fought extremely weak guys since he became champion. But anyway, that's my opinion. Shout out to Afro Jam. Robacy has gassed up off the amateurs. Before he fought Espinoza, we didn't know what he was. That's not true. We knew what Robacy was because Robacy had already lost early in his career. So we knew that he was a skillful fighter who had above average punching power. He was a good counter puncher, and really and truthfully, like we knew that he had a bit of front runner in him, right? So it is what it is. This was Nick Ball's first fight in a long time against a known featherweight in his weight class. Yeah, it's his first fight against a featherweight since he fought Raymond Ford, right? He ain't fought one since then. Robacy, in my opinion, was the best featherweight until Rafa beat him. It's very debatable because the best two guys before Rafa and before Venado and Robacy both lost, I think it was very debatable, honestly. Now, my man Jazz, he asked, who's fighting or is competition? Espinoza or Leo? Okay, so you want to go down this route. Let's go down this route. And let's look at nothing but the facts, all right? Since we're going down this route. Now, because it's crazy, like, what I'm noticing about boxing and how fans perceive fighters, it's crazy. Because a lot of fans I've noticed is that the fighters that believe in themselves and actually take challenges, they get shitted on the most by fans. And then the fighters that don't take challenges, that, get protected, they get the most respect from the boxing fans. And it's crazy to me. So you asked me the question of who's fought worse opponents. So we'll go back to Espinoza, right? Because Espinoza's really only been at the world level since 2023. All right. Now, Angelo Leo is a 2-division champion. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. He's a 2-division champion. Up until about 5 minutes ago when Figueroa beat Nick Ball, he was the only 2-division champion in this weight class, right? So if I'm only including featherweight, if I'm not including like Stephen Fulton and what he did at 122 and being champion there, if I'm only including featherweight, so we'll start with Angelo, right? So we'll go here. We'll go. All right. So Angelo's first featherweight fight. So this run right here. Hold on. This little run right here from Polanco to Eduardo Baez, right? That was Angelo coming off of the layoff with Mayweather Promotions because, look, if you notice, he didn't fight from June of 2021 till November of 2023. So that's like 2.5 years without fighting, right? And that was because he was locked into a contract that Mayweather Promotions would not let him out of. That's just the truth. And he took these fights on Pro Box against these guys that are not big names because he had to take pay cuts to get active to fast track to a world title. So he fought November of 23, January 24, April of 2024. That's 3 fights in 5 months, right? And he beat all those guys, right? Stopped Nicholas Polanco. Polanco, good little, okay fighter, but not really a world level fighter. Mike Plania, he's been up and down on the world level. He did what he needed to do with him. Eduardo Baez, very good fighter. The only guy that beat Baez more definitively than Angelo was Vaquero Navarrete, right? So that was a good win there. Now, he beat Venado Lopez as a 4-1 champion to become a world champion. Now, if you look at Venado Lopez, yeah, he's flawed. Yeah, he's got his things about him that people point out, right? But let's call it for what it is. Venado Lopez became world champion by going on the road and stopping Mick Conlan, right? Or stopping Josh Warrington, right? Josh Warrington was very regarded at that time. He defends the belt in the UK again, stopping Mick Conlan. Then he fights Joet Gonzalez and beats him, a strong world title challenger, right? He beats Rhea Abbey, a guy that is probably Rhea Abbey, speaking as a guy who knows Japanese boxing, Rhea Abbey is probably one of the most underrated fighters from Japan because he's dominated on the domestic level, and he's a very solid, credible fringe world level guy. I think Rhea Abbey is better than would beat a lot of guys that Espinoza has defended his title against. That's my opinion. And then he lost to Angelo. So, at this point in time, this was the when Angelo had defeated Venado, he was the longest reigning champion of the division. He was knocking everyone out. That's what he was doing at the time. And then, he fought Tomoe Kameda, right, in Japan. Now, Kameda, it was a fight that was scored a majority decision. I don't think it was a majority decision. I thought Angelo won like 8 rounds to 4, maybe 9 rounds to 3, but we were in his hometown. So, when you're in another guy's hometown, you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. And one judge did score a draw, so he won by majority decision in Japan. But Tomoe Kameda was a world champion at bantamweight early in his career. He had defended the belt 3 times. I think he has like 3 or 4 career world title defenses. He has a win against Laurence Diamani. He's a solid fighter, and he's not an easy first defense for anybody in the division. So it's hard to compare Angelo to Espinoza because Espinoza has been way more active than Angelo. Espinoza has had 1, 2, 3. He's had 4 fights. He's had 4 defenses of the title since being champion. Angelo's only had 1 defense of being champion because, unfortunately, for whatever the case may be, Pro Box TV, they're not investing into Angelo the way the other promoters are investing into their fighters. So he's put into that very, very unfair position of being a world champion who doesn't really have the backing he really deserves, being a 2-division champion who scored a sensational knockout. So, personally, I think even with the limited resume, Angelo's fought better competition than Rafael Espinoza. Yes, I think he's fought better competition, but that's my opinion. But anyway, let me go back to the chat because I know I'm just rambling about here. Shout out to everyone here. It's your boy BT. Boxing Learner. He says, if Inoue moves up to featherweight, he should have a tune-up and get used to the weight. Or he's asking me a question. He's saying, should Inoue have a tune-up or go for a belt? Also, how many fights does Inoue have left in him? Congratulations to Brandon, the Heartbreaker. Yes, congratulations to Brandon, the Heartbreaker, Brandon Figueroa. I think personally, it's a good question. So Inoue hasn't moved to featherweight because Hideki Ohashi is promoter, and Mr. Honda, the landlord of Japanese boxing, they want him to grow more and fill out his frame a lot more for featherweight. And I've seen Inoue in person probably like 5 or 6 times, from going to Ohashi gym myself and going to his fights and things like that. He's not a big guy. Like, I didn't realize I knew he was small, but it didn't really dawn on me how small he was till I saw him in person. So, personally, I think he should go straight for a world title, because I think if you fight, let's say, hypothetically speaking, let's say he fights a guy like, we'll just say Mirko Cuello, right? Now, Mirko Cuello is a strong, sturdy featherweight, right? You run the risk of losing a non-title fight to a guy up there, even though I think Inoue is more skillful than a guy like Mirko Cuello. Mirko Cuello ain't the most durable. It's still a big risk. I feel like they've taken all this extra time at 122 pounds, so Inoue could fully fill out his frame to be ready for featherweight. When and if he gets past Junto, I feel like they have to, if they're really serious about going to featherweight, go for the gusto. Go straight for the smoke. Whoever they feel is the best stylistic matchup for Inoue to get a world title, I say you go ahead and you do that fight. As far as how many fights does Inoue have left in him, that's a great question. I think a lot of that depends on, how much punishment is he going to take in this Nakatani fight, because one thing I know about these Japanese fighters is when they fight each other, I'm talking about those domestic Japanese fights on Japanese soil, it gets real active in there. I've seen many guys get carried out on stretchers, and an RIP to Kazuki Anaguchi. He died a couple years ago when he fought Seiya Sutsumi. So it's taken very, very serious when two Japanese fighters at a high level fight each other. I'm gonna say, if I'm taking a guess, I'm gonna say Inoue has at the most. I'll give him 3. I'll give him 3 more years in boxing. I'll give him 3 more years, I think. And yeah, that's all there was. And yeah, congrats to Brandon Figueroa again, and thank you, Boxing Learner, for the super chat, and everybody for the super chats. I sincerely appreciate it. My man Spooky says Angelo Leo is a great fighter, but his inactivity is adding rust to his toolbox. I disagree with you. I'm going to tell y'all something, man, about Angelo. And y'all can say I'm being biased because I'm cool with him and he's my friend or whatever, and I'm part of the team and all that blase. But I'm telling you what I know. I'm telling you not what I think, what I know from personal experience, from being around him, from seeing him like literally get demoralized from not fighting for 2.5 years. I'm telling you right now, he's in the 0.00001% of fighters where ring rust does not affect him. And the reason I'm saying that is because this guy didn't fight for 2.5 years. I watched him go from being a front foot dominant volume puncher. In those 2.5 years, he never missed a day of training. He was always in the gym, and he came back. By the time he came back on Pro Box, he came back to you guys with a whole new style as a boxer, a real boxer puncher, and he refined his style to that level, to that degree, because this guy is the most obsessed, most driven fighter I've ever been around. So I know a lot of you guys are gonna say I'm being biased, whatever. I'm telling you what it is. That guy is always in the gym. He's always getting better. He's the most obsessive fighter I've ever seen about boxing. Watching 6-7 hours of film. Like, he's really dedicated to the game. And I wish sometimes you guys could see what I see about him. Not saying he doesn't have his flaws. Of course, every fighter has a flaws. Any fighter can be beat, but he's a hard. At this stage of his career, this is very far from the guy that fought Stephen Fulton. The Kameda fight was not a good watch, but Leo did win. It wasn't a good watch, but you want to know why it wasn't a good watch? It wasn't a good watch because Kameda didn't want to get knocked out. His whole game plan was to not get fucking hit by the left hook. So, because of that, because of how he fought, Angelo had to change the game plan on a mid-fight on the road, had to change the game plan on him, and he beat him with just a jab. It's so funny how people want Inoue at 126 right away before Junto, when 2 world champions there was easily beaten by Fulton and Figueroa. They'll look like an amateur against Inoue. Well, I'm glad you think that. Because Inoue's going to get put in the dirt when he comes to Angelo Leo. I can't wait. I've been telling y'all for 5 years. I've been telling you guys for 5 years, and you're not listening, so one day you'll see. Were you impressed with Carrington the other night? I was impressed with the finish. I was impressed with the finish against Castro. I wasn't impressed with like the overall performance, but I was impressed with the finish. And at the end of the day, boxing's a results-based business, so he did what he needed to do. But I think he needed to tighten a whole. If he's trying to fight guys like Angelo Leo and Rafael Espinoza, there's a lot of things he needs to tighten up on, and that'll be up to him and K. Karoma to figure out what those things are. But there's a lot of things to tighten up on. Do you think what do you think about Shushu Carrington versus Rafael Espinoza? I think stylistically it's a very good fight. A lot of people have been writing Bruce Carrington off in that fight. I like that fight a lot for Shushu. Carrington's Espinoza's a guy that's going to give Shushu what he wants. Because you got to really one thing about it, a lot of you guys just get caught up in the hype and the media and what these fighters are sold to you as, rather than looking at what they do in the ring and knowing what their strengths and weaknesses are. So what I'll say about Shushu is this: when you break him down as a fighter, he's a very good mid-range counterpuncher. So obviously, when you fight a guy like Shushu, you're going to have to be very wary of that, honestly. Espinoza, because of how he fights, he's going to give Shushu a lot of opportunities in that mid-range to counterpunch. So for Espinoza, he's either going to have to out-volume Shushu and not get dropped and hurt with anything, or B, he's going to actually have to, box him a bit and make Shushu come to him. which I don't really that's not really his style. You know, he did box a little bit against Edward Vasquez, but that's not really the Espinoza style. He doesn't like to fight. That's not how he likes to fight. So I give Shushu a great chance in that fight, and I've always thought that about him. Even when I thought he lost to Sulaiman Segal, I've always thought Shushu had a great chance against Rafael Espinoza. You know. Shout out to my man right here with the €5 super chat. He says, "Do you think MVP should be more aggressive picking up male fighters from the United States?" I love that. I mean, they've really done a great job, Jake Paul and them, at cornering the market on the female fighters. I think so. I mean, they did sign Jamal Harvey, who was one of the top Olympians from Team USA. Harvey was also one of the really good amateur. He won a gold medal in the AIBA championships and all that stuff. And I think he's definitely going to be a world champion. So they got off to a good start. I think the next step for them, I think the next step for MVP would have to be like signing someone that's already at that top level, that's already an established, champion. If Angelo is so great, why doesn't he fight Rafael Espinoza? Well, he said yes. He said yes. He's never said no to any of these guys. You gotta, like, one thing I want to explain to you guys about I'm gonna be real on this live. Like, I don't even give a I don't really care if I get in trouble or if anybody got a problem with it in the box world. I'm just gonna tell y'all the truth. When you have to understand the politics of this division to understand why certain fights aren't happening. So I'm gonna break it down for you. Rafael Espinoza is the golden boy of the division. He's the guy that the powers that be want to do well because he's tall, he's Mexican, he can sing, he's got a fun style, right? And he's a good fighter as well. He's developing a good following. He's looked at to be potentially one of the next faces of Mexican boxing, right? So they want him to do well, which is why he's been matched how he's been matched. So Zanford Promotions and Top Rank and Espinoza, they have the negotiating power over everybody in this weight class, damn near everyone, including Angelo. After him, you got, I would say, Bruce Carrington, because again, Bruce Carrington is a fighter that Top Rank signed from the amateurs. Top Rank has invested a lot of money into, and much to Bruce Carrington's credit, he's a very marketable fighter. He's a guy that really and truthfully, like, he gets people's attention because of a lot of the time because of what he says outside the ring and not just for what he does inside the ring. And that gets a lot of people interested in Shushu. He knows how to market himself. So I give him credit for that. So he's on the right side of politics, right? The guy that's on the worst side of politics in this division is Angelo Leo. And I'm going to explain to you why. Even though he's a 2-division champion, even though he knocked out a really good champion in Bernardo Lopez, even though he went to Japan and beat a former world champion in his hometown, he's still on the wrong side of politics because when it comes down to it, boxing is all about money. And you could have a fighter with all the skills in the world, all the self-belief in the world, but if his promoter doesn't believe in him enough to invest the money that's needed to keep his career moving the way they need to, then unfortunately, you're not going to fight and you're not going to be all you can be. And look, I got a lot of respect for Pro Box TV. I love Daniel Rubin. I got a lot of love for Daniel Rubin and Gary Jonas, but I call it like I see it, man. They've dropped the ball on Angelo. He won a world title in August of 2024, and he's only fought one time since. And the one time he fought since then was in very unfavorable circumstances that could have got him really robbed, honestly, out there in Japan. So that being said, he's been the most inactive fighter in the division since he won the title through no fault of his own. It's been his promoters that aren't really putting up the money to get him the fights that he needs to continue moving forward. That's the God's honest truth. And y'all can choose to believe it or not, but that's the God's honest truth. And look, if you don't believe me, I'll prove it to you. If you don't believe me, I'll prove it to you. Watch. Because look, going back to the resume, if you go back and you look at Angelo Leo when he first got with Pro Box, when he fought, so right here, this is his first fight of Pro Box in November of 2023. Now, you guys got to remember, when Angelo fought Stephen Fulton and when he was headlining on Showtime on multiple occasions, he was making good money. He made some good money in his career. It took a lot of humility on his part to take these pay cuts, to fight these guys, so that he can get his career going again. He's one of these fighters who doesn't do a whole lot of this, who doesn't do a whole lot of talking in the media, but he does a lot of talking with his actions. So These guys like Polanco and Mike Plania and Eduardo Baez, these are not big money opponents that Pro Box had to shell out a bunch of money for to get them in the ring. So he took all these pay cuts and he fought, look, November of 2023, January of 2024, Eduardo Baez in April of 2024. That's 3 fights, guys, in 5 months. And then he beat Venado Lopez in August of 2024, right? So that was what, from in a 9-month span, he fought 4 times in 9 months, right? And then he won the title, and then all of a sudden, he can't even get fights. Why is that? I'm telling you guys why it is. He can't get fights, even as a champion, because unfortunately, and I can't speak for them, guys. I'm just telling you what it is, because he beat Venado Lopez in New Mexico. I was there when Bob Arum told Angelo to his face in the videos on this channel that they were going to try to do his next defense in New Mexico, in his hometown. And he didn't get that luxury. He had to go to Japan to fight Kameda, right? And he hasn't fought on American soil since he won the world title. That's the truth. So they dropped the ball in as far as investing in his career and promoting him. But before Angelo was the kind of fighter that was commanded, that was going to be able to command and make more money because now he's world champion, he was getting all the fights in the world because the fights didn't cost that much. And that's what it is. So I'm just telling y'all the truth. Shout out to my man right here. He says, Nick Ball exposed. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He says, Angelo is a top dog. I think so, but he needs the opportunities. You can be the greatest fighter in the world, but if you don't get the opportunities, then unfortunately, nobody will believe. Angelo needs to rebrand himself, to be honest. We'll take some suggestions. And Angelo doesn't have a personality like that, and he is not sale friendly. I mean, he's fight friendly. He knocked out Venado Lopez and got on ESPN. He was on SportsCenter top 10 plays. Like, he's always been a fun fighter. He's always been a guy that's went in there and delivered on action. Even in his one loss to Stephen Fulton, it was the third most punches ever thrown in a 122-pound world title fight in boxing history. He hurt Stephen Fulton in the 4th round. I mean, but you know what it is? Some guys just, they get the luck of the draw of the promoters, and some guys don't. And that's why when certain fighters are successful, it hits different, because they're not handed things on a silver platter. They don't get a chance to fight Sergio Trino Sanchez in their first defense like Rafael Espinoza. How about Leo maybe move to 130 if he can't get a big fight at 26? I think if Joet could make 26, that'd be a good fight, and Leo would have to earn it. I would like that fight. I like Joet. I would like Joet. Joet, I think would have beat the Nick Ball in here tonight. I'm not against it. I wouldn't favor Angelo against Rafael, Bruce, and Bruce him is 50-50. He's only favored against Brandon. That's okay. I mean, he won 2 world titles as the betting underdog. So I mean, nobody ever favors Angelo Leo, so it's all good. He fights better when he's not favored. What is this guy? What is this dude talking about? The difference between, hold on, he said, the difference between me and you is you requested the fight in Bob Aaron's face. I hounded Aaron for 30 minutes about the fight. What fight? Who are you? Who are you? Angelo needs to be like Tio and make it a spectacle. I mean, look, man, everybody has their way of doing things. It's just crazy, guys. Like, some of you guys will sit here and say that, Espinoza's this, Shushu's this, Nick Ball is this. But then when you start talking to people who make decisions in the fight game, like these matchmakers, these promoters and things, then you start to realize, damn, they really think highly of Angelo, because they don't want to put their guys in there with him. He was supposed to, but like I said, when you have promoters that aren't 150% behind you, it's hard to really get your career moving. Before he won a world title, he was the most active championship fighter in the whole sport of boxing. He became world champion. Now he's the most inactive featherweight in the division through no fault of his own. But shout out to everybody here. It's your boy BT, Brennan Taylor, the untouchable True School Sports Empire. We're just here talking about the featherweight division. But if y'all got questions about anything else, I'm gonna be here for 50 more minutes, and then I'm gonna dip and enjoy the rest of my Saturday. And then I'll actually be live. I'll be live again tomorrow. We got a really good live for you guys in Soto tomorrow. We'll have a special guest on for you guys tomorrow. So make sure you guys tune in for tomorrow's live. But until then, get your questions in. I don't like the take. You need to be a talker. The issue is no unification. You think Leo would be an unknown if he was whooping Espinoza? Y'all got to find a way to get big fights with more cuts. I mean, Rafael Espinoza doesn't talk. Do you shit on him for that? Nick Ball has the personality of this fucking glass of water right here, this bottle of water. You don't complain about him, right? So why is it a problem for Angelo? Angelo just did an interview on here and he was calling all them out and he was showing a bit of his personality. He was showing a bit of his actual personality and you'll see later, guys. You know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna tell you guys what's gonna happen. You guys are gonna wish that he was more active. You guys aren't gonna appreciate him till he's gone because he really is one of them guys that'll fight anybody. Like before he won the world title, there was no fighter in boxing more active than Angelo Leo. Not one. Not one. It all comes down to the promoters not wanting to invest the money that's required, But what's going to wind up happening is he's going to knock out one of these dudes like Espinoza or Shushu or Inoue or one of these guys you guys think is great. And then you guys are going to say, damn, I didn't know he was that good. And I'm going to say, yeah, I was telling you for years. And you guys are telling me, no, he needs to be like fucking Teofimo Lopez, who hasn't been a serious fighter for years now. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you got to be yourself. Like, you can't, like, fighters need to be themselves. I'm not, obviously you talk when you need to talk, which I think now he's got to start talking, but like, you don't need to be theatrical just for the sake of it, and some of these fighters, they try too hard. They're not being themselves. Is the guest for tomorrow a fighter? No, it's not. I would say it's more of like how would I describe this person? I would describe him as more of like I'll just say he's a very influential behind the scenes guy. That's what I'll say. Are you worried for Angelo being out of the ring for this long when he does return to the ring? No, I'm not. He's not. I'm telling you guys, he's not like a lot of these fighters. Like, he's cut from a different cloth. Like, for any other fighter, I would say yes, but not him. This dude was out of the ring for 2.5 years because of the Mayweather promotions. And he came back with a whole new style. Not worried, not worried even in the slightest bit. I don't think Leo can even beat Figueroa, for being honest. Well, shit. I wish Brandon Figueroa believed in himself as much as you do when they're at 122, back in the day. And I'll just leave it at that. But Espinoza has Zanfer behind him. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I get it. Like Espinoza and Ball, they have, and even Shushu, they got big machines behind them. Angelo has Pro Box, which is not a big promoter, and they're not really willing to risk the money on Angelo. So it is what it is. All you can do in life is play the cards that you're dealt with, but it's gonna make everything that much sweeter. BT, what are my thoughts on Giorgio Visoli and Jack Turner? Jack Turner, big strong fighter down out there. What is he at? 115 pounds. Big strong, hard punching guy. I mean, the guy he fought tonight wasn't anything too crazy, to be honest with you. I'm not really like over the moon about his opponent, but I mean, he did what he needed to do, and he's got the train moving along. So shout out to him. I still got more I got to see from Jack Turner before I have like a deeper opinion. Shout out to my main man, Mr. Miyagi, with the 20 euro super chat. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. He says, "What's up, BT? Much love from the UK. I was shocked to see Ball get chinned with one clean hook. This just proves how hard a non-standard fighting style is when the guy is tough as nails. Brandon has that shock-absorbing neck." Yeah, man. Once again, I got to say it again because I give praise. As much as I give criticism, I'll be just as quick to give praise to a fighter when they go out there and they perform. So respect to Brandon Figueroa. But yeah, man, Nick Ball. What I noticed watching the fight is Nick Ball is normally a guy who has pretty good durability, punch output, stamina.
I think it was like I think it was heading into the 8th round or heading into the 9th round. I remember that they showed Nick Ball about to walk out before the next round began, and I saw his face, and he had the face of a fighter that was systematically being broken down. He had the face of a guy that, really and truthfully was just going to be. It was. I knew when I saw his facial expression that the last 3 rounds were going to be a big grind for him. He was going to have to grind his way through those last 3 rounds, and that's exactly what it was. And Figueroa has that pressure that builds and builds and builds and builds. And he caught him with one great punch, and when he had him hurt, he made sure he beat him damn near outside the ring. And that's what you got to do in the UK, because you guys know how it goes in the UK, especially Liverpool. They have crazy scorecards that are normally in favor of the Liverpoolian fighter, and they give the UK fighters the benefit of the doubt to go on their shield. So it's also good too that Brandon Figueroa wasn't hurt or put in a position where the referee maybe would have had to have stopped the fight, because even in the Andrew Kane fight, the Alejandro Gonzalez, in my opinion, was a bit premature. We know that when you're a road fighter and you get hurt in the UK, that there's always that big time chance for a premature stoppage. So yeah, it's a tough night for Nick Ball. He still got value in this division. He's now a former world champion, and we'll see what happens for him. There's still good fights out there for him, and I look forward to seeing how the road back is for him. Thank you for the super chat. I greatly appreciate it. Is it time for Angelo to get a new promoter, maybe one from Japan, because there's a new network that is investing in box right now? I mean, you got like I don't want to say yes or no, because I'm not trying to get in too much trouble, but look, you guys seen it. I just showed you there on BoxRec. He had 4 fights in a 9-month span, and then he wins the title. All of a sudden, he's not fighting no more. So clearly, that's not a fighter problem. He's more than willing to be active and give you guys great fights. But again, a lot of times it's not in the fighter's hands. My man right here said, "Go be a commentator or analyst for Top Rank and push for Angelo for Espinosa. And anyway, we might get the fight since you have a decent fan base." Well, I appreciate that, man. That's good, but I don't. If Top Rank ever reached out, I would have never turned it down. I would be honored, actually. I love Top Rank, but I enjoy very much what I'm doing here on True School Sports and growing this channel. So I appreciate it. Who do I think Leo's next fight will be? Unification or defense? I would say defense. I would like it to be unification, but I'll say defense. Honestly. Bro, I was shocked that Figueroa was up 2 scorecards. Of course, one judge had it ball way wide. What did that judge have it? Was it the prototypical 118, 110 scorecard? What does Shakur not fighting black fighters have to do with anything? I don't know. I don't know what that's about. Honestly, it goes to show Stephen Fulton is elite level barring his last fight. I don't hold Stephen Fulton's last fight too much against him, because really and truthfully, Stephen Fulton got that Inoue money. He's been living life, been in Miami, he's living good now. He's what did Biggie say back in the day? Living better now, Coochie sweater now, drop top BM, I'm the man, girlfriend. He doesn't seem to have that same motivation, and it showed in the build up to the Shock Foster fight. He didn't make the weight, But apart from that, we all know Stephen Fulton is still a fantastic fighter. And look, he beat Brandon Figueroa around this time last year, easy. That same Brandon Figueroa came back and beat the brakes off Nick Ball. So Stephen Fulton, his resume today ages like a fine wine. Y'all were saying it was a 117, 112 scorecard. That's a shame. It's a shame that boxing fans know, especially in the UK, especially in Liverpool. You just know there's going to be that one bullshit scorecard. So, yeah. Stephen Fulton did beat Angelo. That was 5 years ago. And yeah, Paul, you know what? It pisses me off about that fight pisses me off. Not because Angelo lost. I actually like that Stephen Fulton fight with even though he lost. because it was still even in a loss, they threw the third most punches in the history of the 122-pound division for any world title fight. That's actually a fact. And Stephen Fulton was hurt in the fourth or the fifth round. He got hurt with a right hand, right? That being said, it's like, man, boxing fans in the boxing industry ask for young fighters to step up and put their undefeated records on the line. You have Stephen Fulton and Angelo Leo do that, and then Angelo gets punished for it, 5 years later. It's retarded. They had it 115, 113. Yeah. Yeah, but like let's be real. Like the Stephen Fulton that fought O'Shaquie Foster is not the Stephen Fulton that fought Brandon Figueroa in number 1 or number 2, honestly. So look, I want y'all to do this, right? Because I got 39 minutes left. I want y'all to do this, guys. So I'm gonna list the potential featherweight matchups, and I want you guys to rank them, all right? Or not even rank them, just in the comments. I want you to tell me what is your number 1 desired most featherweight unification fight. Who do you guys want the most? Because for me, I'll tell you what mine is. I want Angelo Leo versus Rafael Espinoza, because a lot of y'all think he's the danger man of the division, but I would say that's the one for me. That's the one. It's number 1 versus number 2. Yeah, well, O'Shaquie Foster's not at featherweight. He's at the next weight class. He's at super featherweight. He's at 130 pounds. He's not at featherweight, and none of his top wins are at featherweight. Rocky Hernandez was at 130. Fulton was at 130. Everything's been at 130. So we got Shushu versus Leo, Espinosa versus Shushu, Espinosa versus Inoue, Espinosa versus Carrington, Inoue. Well, I'm not going to include Inoue. I'm not going to include Inoue because Inoue is not at featherweight yet. Now, if we're adding Inoue into the equation, then you guys already know. I've been saying it for years that there is no fight in boxing I want more than Angelo Leo versus Naoya Inoue. But I'm talking about specifically just in the featherweight division. Is Leo a big money fight for anyone? It's a big money fight for everyone that wants to unify. I mean, it's a unification fight. If you're not a world champion, I mean, you're gonna get paid good money to fight him, right? So I mean, sure he's not the biggest name in the division. I'm not deluded. I know he's not, but being the biggest name and being the best fighter are two different things. You could be the biggest name and be the worst fighter in the division. My man said any unification. I don't give a damn who it is. I'm with you, champ. I'm with you. I'm just making conversation. Let me see. Let's go on Twitter. I want to see what are the fine folks on the X street saying about all these wonderful featherweight unification fights. I'm seeing a lot of people say that they think that Inoue should go up to featherweight and do his debut against Brandon Figueroa. What do you guys think about Inoue versus Brandon Figueroa? Like, I think I think Inoue could beat Brandon Figueroa, but for your first fight, come on, man, that's a tough fight because I mean they're all tough, and I know Brandon Figueroa's skills aren't up to par. That to me, that's a trap fight, big time trap fight for me. Leo versus Figueroa, that would be a good phone booth fight, low key. It would be a great fight, and I would love to see how Angelo deals with a fantastic pressure fighter like Brandon if the fight gets made. Mark D. Bay says, "Why do people care so much about what fighters are being paid? Can we just see the fights?" I'm with you, champ. I'm with you, champ. I only mention fighters getting paid so people can understand the politics of boxing. That's it. Like that's the only reason, because I understand that purses and all these kind of things, they influence how these fights get made and those kind of things. But I'm with you. I wish we could live in a world where the fights just get made. Leo versus Shushu is my favorite fight, but if you put Inoue in, I like to see him fight Espinoza out of all the champs. Yeah. All great fights. All great fights. Off topic, But why is Navarrete a dog against Nunez? Nav has a better resume fighting Arizona home turf and has the height and reach advantage. What am I missing? I guess maybe the odds makers really believe in the punching power of Sugar Nunez. But personally, for me, look, I love that fight. That's a great fight. Vaquero Navarrete is an amazing fighter. I think Sugar Nunez is gonna beat him. Yep. I think Sugar Nunez is gonna beat him for sure. But I don't know. Don't be surprised if Espinoza winds up trying to fight the winner of that fight, especially if it winds up being Vaquero. I'll tell you this: if Vaquero comes out that fight victorious, don't be shocked if you hear Espinoza wants to move to 130 to go fight him. Yeah, that's part of it too. Is he fought Charlie Suarez. He didn't exactly light the world on fire. He didn't look great. He didn't do any of that. So I think a lot of times too, boxing and the perception of fights and odds and those kind of things. A lot of it is what have you done for me lately? You're only as good as your last fight. And he looked like trash in one of his last fights. Inoue versus Figueroa. I would assume Inoue could hurt him, but he'd have to do the Akhmadaliev strategy. Yeah, that for Inoue in that fight for him would have to be very, very similar to like Dave Picasso. My man said, why don't black fighters have paying fans? That's like, I'm not one to play the race card. I really don't give a fuck about race. I give the slightest fuck about race, but Jaron Ennis sells tickets. Jaron Ennis gets like carefully maneuvered and protected because he sells tickets and because he's a draw in Philadelphia and those kind of things. So I don't agree with that. I think you're hating on that one. Even Terrence Crawford, like Terrence Crawford wasn't a big time pay-per-view fighter, but Terrence Crawford could sell tickets. The hype is over. Ball has never been there with the prime world-class Mexican and dominated. Ronnie Rios exposed the holes. Divino, Venado, Leo, Bronco Lara. Oh, man, you said Omar Trinidad. Man, you said Omar. I don't know about that one, man. Omar Trinidad. Damn, you really hate Nick Ball. But, I mean, I guess if you're naming all the Mexicans and Mexican-Americans you can think of, you gotta include good old Omar Trinidad in there. Well, by the way, he did have a good win against Max Ornelas on the first Super card. But, yeah, man, like, look, it's a long history in British boxing of their fighters struggling with the high-pressure, high-octane, volume-punching Mexican style. Now, Nick Ball doesn't have UK style. Let's call it right. Like, he's not the technical mid-range Luke Campbell, type of British fighter. No, he's very rugged, and he likes to throw the right hand and then shift into the southpaw stance and throw big power punches and get him the inside, right? But Nick Ball, like I don't know. It's just a culture thing. They don't know how to deal with the most of them. Not 90% of the time, it just doesn't go well for them. Nick Ball would beat Leo. Fuck no. And Queensberry Promotions don't even believe that. They didn't want to make the fight. That's not a fight they really wanted to make. Who would Josh Kelly struggle with the most? Zayas, Fundura, Boots, or Virgil? It's a great question. I would go with Virgil Ortiz. I would say Virgil Ortiz. Virgil Ortiz is a combination of volume, boxing ability, even like the angles he takes, power, all that. I think he would cut all that off. Boots, I mean, I would say Boots and Xander could be tied for 2. With Boots, people hate when I bring it up, but that Karen fight, I think, exposed some holes in his game, in terms of cutting the ring off. And Josh Kelly, believe you me, you guys seen that Bachran fight. You saw how much Josh Kelly is willing and ready and able to circle that ring for as long as he has to. So imagine. I said when I was talking about those Karen fights when they happened, I said, imagine a guy who could circle the ring as much as Karen with more firepower. And guess what? Josh Kelly is a guy who will circle the ring just as much as can with more firepower. Sure, he's not as tricky. He doesn't have that Eastern European style, but he will circle that ring till he can't circle no more. He says it doesn't matter. Omar Trinidad is on his way to a title shot. That's the point. Yeah, a title shot, a Zuffa title shot. he ain't gonna fight for nothing. Listen, Omar Trinidad is gonna be a Zuffa champion. That's the route he's going. Tom Loeffler is his promoter. Tom Loeffler and Dana White is like this. They're gonna go for that Zuffa belt. In fact, my prediction is that Omar Trinidad will be the inaugural Zuffa world champion. Hell yeah. With Ball losing, which champ at 126 do you think Inoue can beat? Inoue is a special fighter, so I give Inoue a chance against all the champions, even my buddy Angelo, right? I would say for sure the two fighters for sure that I think he would beat. I think he beats Brandon Figueroa for sure, and I think he beats Bruce Carrington for sure. And then I'll say that the two guys that I think Inoue would have some problems and or lose to would be Angelo Leo and Rafael Espinoza. But I think Espinoza, I'm just real iffy about Espinoza because he has that long torso, you know, and Figueroa has a long torso too. He's tall for the weight. I just think Inoue is such an elite volume puncher and such a creative fighter that guys with long torsos can't deal with him. That's my theory on that. I'm gonna call it the Jane McDonald theory. How about that? We'll call it that. Shout out to Mr. Miyagi. He says that is why Frank. He said that is why Frank didn't want the Neri fight. I mean, Frank didn't want a lot of fights. There was a lot of fights Frank didn't want, you know, and he was very, like I said, he was very fortunate. Sam Goodman didn't get out there. I thought Sam Goodman actually beat Nick Ball, to be honest, but I didn't make a big deal about it. Thank you for the super chat. Have I seen the 126 rankings lately? Yes. Have I seen them? I look at them every single day, more than you do. Trust me, I look at them more than you do. I can assure you that much. Omar Trinidad is going to go to the Zuffa box fight. He's not going near Angelo Leo because I know he's like number 1 or 2 for the IBF. He's not going near Angelo Leo. I'm listen. When I'm here, I'm never just talking. He said, "Hey now, BT, language. This is a family show. You're right. You're right. Thank you, champ. I gotta tighten up. Man. This is a Christian program." What up? Once I knew trainer Manuel Robles was Brandon's trainer, I knew he was going to take Brandon's strengths and use them to his advantage and win the championship. Amazing KO, the Heartbreak Kid, plus 1400. Hell yeah, man. Shout out to Brandon Figueroa. Shout out to Brandon Figueroa, man. And shout out to Manny Robles. That shows you that he's a good trainer because he knows that Brandon Figueroa can't reinvent the wheel and become this, you know, well-rounded fighter. So he went back to basics and what made him, you know, the Heartbreak Kid at 122, and it was a vintage Heartbreak performance. So shout out to him. My man says, "You lost plenty of picks, dude." I've got plenty of picks right too. So I mean, you win some, you lose some. But thank you for tuning in and caring enough and caring to know whether I'm getting them right or wrong. Well, I'm a Christian and I'm the one on live, so I'm gonna say it's a Christian program. But God bless everyone, whether you believe or don't believe. You know, I ain't pushing no religion on no one. It's funny how Zayas is willing to fight Virgil Ortiz and Fedora, but quiet when it comes to Boots. Top Rank is moving them very strategically. He's not quiet when it comes to Boots. He's mentioned Boots. It's Boots' fault. Listen, man. We talk about feather. We're not gonna talk about Boots, man. He gets too much talk for a guy that don't want to really fight no one. It's his fault that he's in this position. You avoided the Brian Norman Jr. fight and you refused to go undisputed at 147 just to go to 154 and cherry pick the Angolan animal Usima Lima when you could have fought Bakram. I was begging Boots the week of Bakram beating Tim Zuda to immediately go to 54 and fight Bakram Razaliev, and everyone was like, "Nah, why does he got to do that?" Because I understood. Okay, at that time, if he would have just did that back then, when I was asking him to do that, Josh Kelly was not Bakram's mandatory. Terrence Crawford was still in the division, and Xander Zayas was not a champion. So he played himself. He played himself. I don't feel bad for him. He said, where is it? Where's that one comment? Where is it? My man Hyro, and I know this is you, Hyro. You haven't won an underdog pick in a long time, and that's not true, actually, because I won an underdog pick back in December. I picked Renee Santiago. Who was an underdog, to beat Kaosuke Takami, who was regarded to be the number 1 light flyweight in the world. So you're actually wrong. But thank you for trying. Boots is fighting Virgil on April 11th. Well, I hope so. I hope so. Them two non-world champions got to do something. They neither one. Like, it's crazy to me how Virgil and Boots get all this sympathy from certain boxing fans. They both got big promoters behind them. They've had politics on their side, and they put themselves in the position of a B-side fighter, and it's their fault. It's literally their fault. Is Angelo fighting unification or not? That's up to the other champions. It's always yes with us. Listening to the commentators honestly have me believing that Nick Ball was outclassing Figueroa. I mean, that's British commentary for you. They always go ahead and they always go ahead and they always overrate what the British fighters are doing. He said, "I'm glad you're a cheerleader." I'm not a cheerleader. Just telling you what it is. I mean, if a guy has fought in 8 states, 2 countries, like, politics are not on his side. So, I mean, it really is up to the other champions. Like, Angelo Leo does not have the luxury of saying no to a world unification fight. He doesn't. Like, his promoter is not going to invest money. He's not investing money into him like the other promoters are. So he's in that position of, like, if they want to fight, he's going to have to say yes. That's the reality of the situation. Boots definitely could have been the one to beat Brian Norman Jr. and then went to 154 and beat Bakram. If he had those 2 wins back, nobody would have the right to question him as much right now. Exactly, but not like, how do you not fight either one of those guys? Like, how are you Jaron Ennis and you don't fight Brian Norman or Bakram? Because both fights made sense. You weren't pushing Boots and Bakram. You were pushing for Boots to fight a tune-up. Yo, see, now I don't like this. I don't like when when people put words in my mouth. Because look, you know what? Hold on. See, now I gotta check you. In fact, hold on. Where is it? Now I gotta check you. Because I can't download the clip right now. I can't download the clip right now. I'm gonna show you. Hold on. I'm going to send you the link so you can watch for yourself, and you can check the date if you don't believe me. Murta Zaliev. Like, I wanted Boots to fight a tune-up. I'm the main one that shitted on Boots for taking the tune-up. I'm the one that said that Philly versus Angola is the new rivalry in boxing. But look, since you want to sit here and talk and put words in my mouth and talk out the side of your mouth and all that stuff, now I got to humble you. Now I got to check you. Because I literally made a video. I did a whole live about it right here. The link is right here. Hold on. Boots needs to fight Bakram video late 2024. There's the link. If you think that I was capping about Boots fighting Bakram and I'm just pulling it out of thin air because I don't like Jaron Ennis and all this stuff, I challenge you to go watch that video right there. It's right there in the chat. It's right there. You don't gotta wonder. Hold on. It's literally right there. I have a clip. Well, go look at that clip right there. Don't be a hoe. Go look at that clip right there. And if you ever heard me talking about Boots fighting Lima, and I was like talking good about it, I was being sarcastic. It's called sarcasm. It's called humor. I can't put links in this chat. Hold on, man. Because you're talking. I don't like when people like you talk out the side of your mouth. Like I don't like that shit. I don't like people putting words in my mouth. If there's one way to piss me off, that's the way you do it. Is put words in my mouth and tell me things that I said and didn't say and things like that. Like, nah, man. I'm not sure if the link went through because I put it through Streamer. So I'm gonna go to the actual YouTube link. I'm gonna drop it in the actual chat so you can watch the actual video of me actually telling Jaron Ennis to actually fight Bakram Adazali. Look, it's right there. All you gotta do is just go watch. All you gotta do is just go watch that video. It's right there, and you can go look at the date. You know, it's not a new thought. And if you choose to ignore it, then you're trolling. Well, he got it. He got what he wanted. So God bless him. Now, shout out to everybody here at the Untouchable True School Sports Empire. We're just here having fun talking boxing. These are my last 20 minutes, and then I will I'll dip for the day and try to marinate on what's happened today with Mr. Brandon Figueroa and Nick Ball. But it's been a decent week. Been a decent week in boxing. I'm really waiting for that Ryan Garcia Barrios fight. I'll be out there. I'll be going to Vegas in 9 days now. So I'm looking forward to being out there for fight week and covering the fight and just giving you guys great content. I too wonder why Boots didn't fight Murtazalia when nobody was trying to fight him at first. Now look, that's what I'm saying. Like, think about it. If he goes up there and he beats Murtazalia, that was before Xander was champion. That was before Josh Kelly was a mandatory, and Crawford hadn't even moved up to 68 yet. Like, he hadn't even negotiated with Canelo or anything like that. So let's say if Boots goes up there and beats Murtazalia, now you're a champion in the same weight class as Crawford. You can now put pressure on Crawford to make the fight. You could do a whole bunch of things, but you put yourself behind the 8 ball, Who do I got between Frank Martin and Nahir Albright? Very, very good fight. Very good fight. Frank Martin's the more explosive fighter. Nahir Albright's a very good counterpuncher. Give me Nahir Albright by decision. Decision of any sort. Tomoyo Suboy versus Kenshiro Taraji at BAM vacates. Who do you got? You guys know I love Kenshiro Taraji. I got the damn Kenshiro Taraji World Championship banner on my wall that he gave me personally when I went to Japan in 2023. But I'm not biased. I can't be biased. I think Tomoyo Suboy carves up Kenshiro and outboxes him. But I'll be rooting for Kenshiro. But yeah, I got Suboy in that fight. How's Pops? Pops is good. Been a long week. Just resting. He was here watching the fight with me, and yeah. Dude, I heard Madrimov might get a Boots fight after going the distance with the softest cam. Yeah, I mean, you guys know how I feel about Madrimov. I've been very vocal over the years about Madrimov and what I think he is and what I think he isn't. And to be honest, like, normally it would be very easy for me to shit on Boots fighting Madrimov. Like, it'd be insanely easy for me to do that. But because the standard is so low for the Lima fight, I can't even really say anything. Like, the Madrimov fight's an upgrade, even though I don't think much of Madrimov. But he's a former champion. He's fought Crawford. He's fought Virgil, so he's got common opponents with a lot of guys. And yeah, it'd be an interesting fight. Now, what I will say, as much as I don't like Madrimov's style and like how he fights, that's a fight where, again, you got a guy that has no problems circling the ring and moving. So there's a possibility that Madrimov could exercise, could bring back some of them demons from the Karen fight. I think Boots still win because Boots is better fighter offensively and stronger and those kind of things. And Madrimov just won't let his hands go. That's not his style. He focuses a lot on feints and being very herky-jerky, but it's not a fight I really want to see. And you know what? I wouldn't even rule out, and I'll throw this out there. I wouldn't even rule out Jaron Ennis fighting Speedy Rashidi Ellis, because remember, that was a fight that was being talked up at one point before Ennis fought Romain Villa. It was supposed to be Ennis versus Speedy Rashidi Ellis, but Speedy Rashidi Ellis lost. He lost to Romain Villa. Ooh, now that'd be a fight. That'd be a fight. What are your thoughts on Tomoyo Suboy versus Bam? Listen, first and foremost, if this sport was really about the best fighting the best, that fight would be happening next. If this sport wasn't a business and it was only about the best fighting the best, that fight would be happening next, because I know, like, Ken Shiro is a fight I really advocated for Bam, and Christian Medina is a good fight as well. But for my money, especially we're talking about the Japanese fighters, like, I feel like Tomoyo Suboy is one of the toughest fighters out there for Bam to fight. Even though he only has 3 fights, just his boxing ability is off the charts. I mean, it's literally off the charts. That's a guy that could give Bam some problems. And anybody, Bam, Kenshiro, Christian Medina, anybody you want to name, that guy is a problem. Man said Santion gets beat up, but he didn't look good his last fight. Well, he's getting used to a new weight class. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes for him. I like Santion. I hope Santion can make himself a real factor in the 54 division. Don't be surprised if Santion gets his Xander Zayas fight, because if you guys remember, Santion was actually the original opponent for that fight in Puerto Rico. It was actually because Xander told Top Rank, hey, I can't really get up for that kind of fight in Puerto Rico. I need a champion, and they wanted to make the Abbas Barrow fight happen. So if it wasn't for Xander being the champion that he is, he would have fought Santion already. But don't be surprised if they go back and they revisit that fight. BT, how do you see Takuma Inoue versus Andrew Kane? Kane is dangerous, but he seems readable. He's very readable. He's a guy that needs you to hold your feet, but he's very explosive, and he comes forward and he throws a lot of punches. And one thing about Takuma, one thing that I've learned throughout the years watching Takuma, it's not so much the boxers that give him problems. It's more so the guys that he beats boxers. Takuma can outbox another technical pure boxer, but he has a hard time dealing with like a very rugged physical fighter. So when we look at his losses to the guys he lost to, Nordino Bali, Seiya Tsutsumi, those are very rugged physical guys. I would probably hedge and lean slightly towards Takuma, but that's a very tough fight, just based on what we've seen. You either win like Brandon in the UK earlier, or you don't. The UK walks away with another pound for pound talent. Yeah, that's what it is. When you go to the UK, you got to go in there and beat the brakes off these guys, because these UK fighters. They work hard, and I have a lot of love for British boxing, but the home cooking they get is ridiculous. It's ridiculous sometimes, many times. Shout out to my main man MAW from Australia with the super chat. He says, "I appreciate your content, BT, and I appreciate people like you that get me here, man, to get up and do these videos, because really, guys, I was very slow to get out of bed this morning. I went to bed very late last night, and then by the time I got ready, it was time to go. It was time to go live, and then Andrew Kane was already fighting. So I said, forget it. I'll watch the fight. I'll make my post-fight review video, and I'll go live for you guys after the fight. We can talk about it. But you're greatly appreciated, and all you guys greatly appreciated. Even the ones that disagree, especially the ones that disagree. You're all even the Hyros of the world. Even though Hyro be working my last damn nerve, he is greatly appreciated. Thank you. Hyro says, I said Ball would fight guys as if he wasn't the champion. I mean, you did, Hyro. Do your thing, Hyro. Tell me. Go ahead and say I told you. Very much appreciated. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm from the UK. Believe me. We the fans hate those shady scorecards. Yeah, no, I know. I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of British boxing fans over the years at fights, interacting here through YouTube. Even I went to the UK once 7 years ago in 2019 for like a month. And everyone there is pretty, for the most part, British boxing fans are pretty sensible. Like they back their own, they want their guys to win, but they call out what's right and what's wrong. So I respect the British boxing fans. It's the British boxing industry, the TV pundits like your Ade Oladipos and Carl Frampton and Tony Bellew, them guys, and and Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn and Howard Foster, the whole UK establishment, they be on some bullshit, and I hate it because I love the UK fans. I love the UK atmosphere, and UK fighters. Sure that they lose a lot of big fights, but it's also because they take a lot of big fights. You understand? So I respect them. Figueroa needs to stick to inside fighting. That is his strength. I'm not sure why he wanted to fight on the outside. I agree. Like, in the fight game, you got to do what got you to the dance. You got to do what made you successful, what made you the best version of you. And he did that today, and it paid dividends. Japan is the exact opposite of the UK. It is 1,000%. A lot of Japanese fighters, when they get into these close fights, they can't buy a decision. Like, look at one fight in particular. Look at Hiroto Kiyoguchi versus versus Anthony Olaskuwaga, right? Hiroto Kiyoguchi, very popular, proud Japanese fighter. I thought he boxed one of the best performances of his career, I actually outboxed Anthony Olaskuwaga and really exposed a lot of holes in his game. And he didn't get the decision, and he got robbed in his own country against the American. But guess what? The American was Mr. Honda, so that's why it played out that way. There's politics everywhere in boxing. Hyro, salute. It was you and Leo on here with BT. No, that was Johnny. That was Johnny. He says, I told your ass. Shout out to Omara Figueroa. That's really my favorite part. My favorite part about Brandon winning is we get to see more of the lovely Omara Figueroa on our TV screens. Shout out to her. Shout out the whole Figueroa family. Omar, the dad, everyone. It's their day today. Yo, what's up, BT? Did you see Eddie say that Turkey is making Abdullah Mason versus Joe Cordina? I don't understand why this matchup. Well, Joe Cordina just won a decent little fight back in December. He fought Gabriel Flores Jr. and he beat him pretty soundly. He's a name. He's a former world champion, and Mason wants a homecoming fight. Mason wants to go back to Cleveland, Ohio, and give the fine folks of Ohio a hometown fight. So it's going to be hard to get a big name to come to Ohio. Cordina, is looking for a big opportunity, and he strikes me as the kind of guy that will be willing to go to Cleveland, Ohio, to fight Abdullah Mason. So that's the line of thinking on that one. Muratai just became champion, so I don't think you could expect Top Rank to make them fight right away. And yeah, that's how I interpret it. Yeah, the UK is the most corrupt, especially Liverpool. And yeah, it's bad, man. And I've never been to Liverpool. I've always wanted to go to Liverpool because for those that know, for those that don't know, I mean, I don't watch the English Premier League as much as I used to. But my favorite team in the English Premier League is Everton, right? So because I'm a Toffee and Everton's my favorite team in the Premier League, I've learned a lot about Liverpool through the years, and I've always wanted to visit Liverpool. I've met a lot of Scousers, and the Scousers are very fun, nice, warm people. But for whatever the case it is, whenever there's a fight in Liverpool, there's always corruption. There's always some sort of corruption. It's crazy. Can Figueroa get a hometown fight with everything going on at PBC? That's a great question. Now because he's a PBC fighter, and PBC, we're gonna see if they have are they willing to put up the money to allow Brandon Figueroa to get a hometown fight, or is Brandon Figueroa gonna have to fight somebody else on like a Turkey card or something like that? I don't know. It really is dependent upon PBC. Now, PBC. They don't have a lot of shows these days. They just do like their 5 shows a year. They're normally pretty big shows, but it's about 5 shows a year. And I can't see them going to West Texas or South Texas, wherever the hell he's from, to go do a show there for him. I don't know, but we'll see. It really shouldn't be that expensive, to be honest. I know Brandon's a world champion, but it shouldn't be that expensive. Liverpool was very rough, but nowadays it's improved. I mean, that's a lot of big cities, and even here in America, like a lot of the big cities, they cleaned a lot of them up because I know, like, even growing up where I'm from in South Florida, like, Fort Lauderdale, Dania Beach area, back in the early 2000s and even the 90s, like, shit was rough at times. There's certain parts that was real rough. But now it's like you go there now and you don't recognize it. It's almost too nice. So I get it. Bum ass ball. My man Josh is cooked. My man Josh is absolutely cooked. Velasco, Texas. Yep, that's where he's from. I mean, shit. If Brandon and Angelo run it, I'll be there myself because I'm at every Angelo fight. I've been at every Angelo fight since post Fulton, all of them. Alameda, Polanco, Planilla, Baez, Venado, Kameda. Been at all of them. So no matter where it is, I will 1000% be there. No ifs, ands, nor buts about it. What's it like over there? I never been to that part of Texas. I used to live in Texas. I lived in Dallas for a year when I was 19, but I never been to like that Velasco, that's South Texas, like deep South Texas. I never been to that part of Texas. What's it like over there? Also, those that watched Ball versus Ford, did Ball deserve that win? I personally thought that Ford nicked it by like the skin of his teeth. But when you're fighting a guy in a close fight, it's 50-50. It's super, you never know how it's going to go. I thought Raymond Ford pulled it out, but I'm not like over here complaining about it because Raymond Ford, like, he left it too close. And if you're supposed to be on a fighter on that different type of level, then you can't leave those fights kind of close because then you run the risk. You run the risk of potentially getting an L put in your record, and that's what happened. He said, "Yes, sir. We see you, BT. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir." Figures from Texas, shit. They may as well make the Leo unification. Where's Leo from? New Mexico, right? That's close. Yeah, I mean, why not? I'm not against any unification, so I don't care if it's Figueroa. I don't care if it's Espinoza, Carrington, whatever has to happen to get these legacy fights to position Angelo for the Inoue fight. That's what I want to happen. So, it is what it is. How is Brandon different from his brother Omar? I feel like Omar maybe was slightly more of a long range fighter, but no, I mean, they both have the same philosophies. They're both trained by the same person, which was the dad. And, one thing I know from my travels to Texas and being in the Texas boxing gyms and even doing some sparring, I've done like a little bit of sparring with some Mexican fighters in Texas. Yo, these Mexican fighters in Texas, they don't know nothing but going forward. So the philosophies are very much the same. Has there been an undisputed featherweight in the modern era? No, there has not. In fact, there's only been 2 featherweight unification fights in the 21st century, and those two fights were Juan Manuel Marquez versus Derek Gainer in 2003, and Gamboa versus Orlando Salido, and I think that was 2011. And the last lineal champion of the featherweight division was Mikey Garcia in 2013. So shit gotta happen. My bad for the cursing. I need to see either Inoue move to 126 and become undisputed, and if it's not him, then Leo deserves the glory. I mean, best of luck to Inoue. Well, I want the last part. What the last part. Yeah, Harold, he wound up dying. Yeah, I know you're gonna type some bullshit in the comments. He wound up dying. That's why he died in a car crash. His life was taken away from him prematurely, Harold. He said, "LOL, Bradley thinks Oshaki Foster will be a tough fight for Shakur." I think you know what? As I know right now, people are very, very high on Shakur, and they should be. I'm high on Shakur, and I've always been high on Shakur. even when I've criticized certain performances, I've always thought that he was a special talent, special fighter, right? But let's be real, like if you want to just get into it style wise, like Shakur Stevenson, and I guess this is why that comment was made earlier. Shakur Stevenson hasn't really fought any long, rangy, patient, technical Black American fighters, right? And O'Shaquie Foster, he fits that description. So I would love to see that fight. I would favor Shakur Stevenson just because he's mastered his distance control so much to the point where it's just like it's hard to see him losing a fight. But I want to see him in there with that style, see how he deals with that, Because if O'Shaquie Foster is able to outweight Shakur Stevenson and be patient in the fight and make Shakur come to him, can Shakur make the adjustments in that fight? That's an intriguing one. Might not be an exciting fight, but it's an intriguing fight. Inoue is scared of 120. I don't. We'll see. We'll see after this Junto fight. What is my top 5 pound for pound looking like? That's a good question. So I got with Crawford out the picture, personally, I got Inoue number 1. I got Naoya Inoue number 1. You can say 1A and 1B. I mean, it's hard because Usyk is deserving of number 1 as well, but I'm giving it to Inoue. I'm giving Inoue number 1 because of the activity. Usyk has beaten better fighters, but it's just this man's fighting so often, and he's fought some really good fighters in his own right, and he's one of the most dominant fighters in boxing, even though he's been dropped a couple times. So I got Inoue 1, I got Usyk 2, I got Bivol 3, I got Shakur 4, and then I got Artur Beterbiev at number 5. How about that? Bam, for those of you asking about Bam, because I know someone will ask about Bam. Bam might have more like somewhere in the 6 to 7 range. He's on his way, but I don't think he's like, I think they got Bam rated a little bit too high, but that's my opinion. Do you think at this point Caleb Plant wants to fight Jamal Charlo? From what it looks like, Caleb Plant was over there at that Zuffa boxing show last night, or not last night, but recently, last week he was at that Zuffa boxing show. So I think it'd be crazy. You might mess around and see Caleb Plant on Zuffa boxing. So if he goes to Zuffa boxing, I don't really see him fighting Charlo. The crazy thing about Jamal Charlo, the older one, I think he's actually dialed in now. Like I think he's taking boxing serious. O'Shaquie makes adjustments and might just outwork Shakur late because Shakur doesn't throw big combinations. If he loses too many early rounds, he'll try to go for the KO, which others would give up on. That's what I'm saying. That's a real interesting fight. I mean, I know Shakur Stevenson said he told O'Shaquie, I make all this money and you're not gonna get the shot and all this stuff, and you could classify it as a duck if you want, but I would like to see that fight. It's all well and good for us to think a certain way of a fighter, but fights are won in the ring, not our reputation or what we think would happen. So, if I was the commissioner of boxing and I could force Shakur Stevenson to fight someone next, he'd be fighting. Well, actually, if I could force him to fight anyone, he'd be fighting Keyshawn Davis. But I'm saying apart from Keyshawn Davis, O'Shaquie Foster. Do I have Junto Nakatani on my top 10 pound for pound? Yes, but like by the hairs of his chinny chin because I thought he lost his last fight. I'm thinking like 9 or 10. He took a bit of a hit, but he's still barely on there just because he has beat some good fighters. He has been a champion across 3 weight classes. He has unified at 118. He's done some great things, but may not be much longer now. Yeah, Shakur versus Foster probably wouldn't be a fan-friendly fight, but it's a fight that it would just be interesting to see how Shakur deals with the style. You understand? O'Shaquie versus Abdullah Mason. That's a tough one. Because I love Abdullah. I think Abdullah has a bright future in the sport, but he's still a little green. So I think Top Rank's gonna give him two or three fights, and not cans, not bones, but winnable fights against competent fighters. And then you probably won't see Abdullah Mason in a significant fight, in my opinion, for like another 3 fights. That's what I think. If I'm going off of what I know about Top Rank, knowing what I know about Abdullah Mason's strengths and weaknesses, they're gonna take their time with him. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, maybe Caleb Plant versus Callum Walsh becomes the big fight to make. You know, because I feel like PBC can't get no more use out of Caleb Plant. Like Caleb Plant has done. He's paid his services to PBC. He's been a champion. He was a big time fighter for them 6-7 years ago, 5 years ago. They got a Canelo payday out of it, doing the Undisputed fight. They can't really do much with Caleb Plant now. He's coming off of a loss. He's lost to Benavidez, lost to Resendiz. So Zuffa is the way to go for him. And that's the route he seems to be going, because he went to the Zuffa show. He was there, and Ernesto Tito Mercado, the 140-pound prospect, he was also there as Zuffa Boxing, which I found interesting, because Ernesto Mercado he was signed at Matchroom. Yeah, like Junto is not a bum or anything like that. I just think he probably really shouldn't be at 22. I think, and this might be an unpopular opinion, I think Junto should, after the Inoue fight, I think he should move his ass down to 118 again. Because I don't know, man. Or if he stays at 22, I mean, fight a Ramon Cardenas, fight Sam Goodman, fight them kind of guys. There's good fights for him there, but it's crazy, because as bad as he looked against Sebastian Hernandez-Reyes, the reality is that Inoue does not have that style. Inoue does not fight that way. So he might listen. He can still beat Inoue, and if Junto does the unthinkable and does beat Naoya Inoue, all of a sudden we're gonna be talking a lot different about them. LOL, BT, you said Junto could scale high. I told all you fools his limit was 118, and everyone kept saying his frame this and his frame that. I still think he could. I actually do think that Junto could scale. I think, to be honest with you, I think with the right management, and the right guidance and the right fights, I think Junto could be a featherweight champion. I'm not throwing him to the wayside and saying that he's a bum or nothing like that. I just think they picked the wrong. There are certain fighters you don't pick for your first fight in the division. You understand? Sebastian Hernandez-Reyes is one of them. That's why I knew it was going to be a hard fight for Junto. And it's a fight I thought he lost, but I stick with that. Junto's still a damn good fighter. It's just that Inoue is special. Who's in my bottom five? My bottom five, I would have, let me see, my bottom five pound for pound, I would have Bam. And this is in no order, but I would have Bam, I would have Junto. I would have Benavidez somewhere in there. I would have Devin Haney. And who's in that 10th spot? I'm not sure. I guess for the 10th spot, fuck it. For the 10th spot, I'm gonna be biased and put Kenshiro, because I don't think for the 10th spot, I'll put Ricardo Sandoval. How about that? I'll go Ricardo Sandoval, because I thought Ricardo Sandoval, I don't think beat Kenshiro. And I was gonna say I'll put Kenshiro there, but he is the unified champion. He's the man at 115 pounds. So we'll go Ricardo Sandoval. Shout out to my boy Kevin Effect. He says, BT, damn, Kevin Effect got knocked the fuck out. Yeah, man, Kevin was bad. I didn't think he was gonna do him like that, but that's why they fight the fights. Yeah, like 10 could be correct. You could put Ricardo Sandoval there. You could throw in a Jael Pataya. Who else? You could even put Jaron Ennis if you want. You could put Jaron Ennis in there. You could put Xander Zayas if you wanted there for him being a unified champion. I mean, there's many different number 10s. You know what? I'm gonna be biased. Because isn't the pound list is a biased ass? I'm going Angelo Leo. We'll put Angelo Leo number 10. How about that? They got arrogant. Junto's coach thought he could be Rafael Espinoza. I was like, no way. Yeah. I still don't think that's crazy. I just think you need time. You need to do it properly. Like you need to fight. You need to really grow yourself into the weight class. Like you're not like that. Like you're a good fighter, but you're not like that. Nashida is doing the same thing. Brian Mercado is kneeing bigger punches than Hernandez. Yeah, I mean, like these Japanese fighters, like the things I love about them are the things that get them knocked out a lot. Is that they're too damn brave for their own good. You know, they don't believe in taking these soft fights. They believe in just death before dishonor. Like that Bushido code is built within these dudes, and they want to fight the biggest and baddest dudes possible. When do you think Marcus Luther is going to go pro? I would anticipate it's got to be, you know, within the next couple of years. I like Marcus Luther a lot. You know, I was actually there in attendance in 2022 out there in Cleveland with my boy Sean Porter. I was there when he was fighting Kermel Moen. I like Marcus Luther a lot, and he's even gotten better since that fight. So hopefully in the next 2 to 3 years, you know, really good young talent. I saw that Leo interview. He's being delusional. Well, hey, sometimes in this fight game, you got to be delusional, you know. But it's okay. He's never the favorite. He won 2 world titles as the underdog. So I know a lot of you guys are going to say that he can't beat Shushu, he can't beat Espinoza, he can't beat these guys. That's how he won it. If Benavidez beats Zotto, does that make him top 10 pound for pound? I got him top 10 pound for pound already. Benavidez has a very strong resume. He's the youngest super middleweight champion of all time. He would have been on this list years ago if Canelo Alvarez didn't duck him for all these years. He said, "We saw you out there, BT. You were eating rice off the floor." That's funny. I know Brendan Figueroa won, but can Manny Robles fix all his flaws? I don't think he's trying to fix his flaws. I think he's actually doing the smart thing, which is he knows what he is. He's meeting where he's at, and he's just trying to amplify his strengths to the highest levels. And you know, if you're gonna beat Brendan Figueroa, you're gonna beat him while Brendan Figueroa is fighting his fight. I mean, anything is possible. We'll see what happens. Jamal Harvey, I'll say for sure. When I think of the American prospects, I'll say Jamal Harvey's a guy that I've been very bullish on being a world champion ever since I learned who he was back 4 years ago when I went out to Colorado Springs with Sean Patel and with Sean Porter to go interview all the Olympians out there. So I'll say him. Have I seen Rasta Spence in the gym? I've seen clips. Yeah, I've seen like little clips. Good to see Spence in the gym. I think he's harder. I think he's harder than a couple. I think he's harder and more durable than a lot of those guys you just named. You know, he's more durable. There's more things to overcome with a guy like Venado. But you know, I'm gonna let you think what you want to think. I'm sure when Shushu or Espinoza or whoever you Figueroa, when one of them gets plastered or outboxed 9-3, 10-2, something like that, or gets stopped by a body shot or a headshot, you're gonna say, well then, hey, I don't know, Reito Sutsumi would have beat him, or you know, you'll find another guy. That's how boxing works. What happened with you and Sean Porter idea? Did it fizzle out? I mean, you got to ask Sean that. I mean, I was on board with it. You know, he's a busy man. He's a busy man with what he's doing, and it just never became anything. So it is what it is. I don't hold it against Sean. Yeah, I don't ever hold it against Sean. You know, he's got his path and I got mine. What's the most unforgettable sparring you ever witnessed? That's a great question. I'll name you a couple. I'll name you a couple for different reasons, but I won't go into them because I believe that what stays in the gym should stay in the. What happens in the gym should stay in the gym. I saw also Luis Arias, Carlos Adames was a good one. I like that one. Angelo Leo, Carmel Moen, Angelo Leo, Hector Garcia. That was a good one. What was another one? Oh, Chris Colbert and Luis Chucho Melendez was an interesting one. Philip Hergovich, Lorenzo Medina was good. Been a lot of sparrings. Teofimo Lopez. I saw Tio spar in 2021 against Brandon Pizarro and Dominique Trap Francis. I saw Shakur Stevenson spar in 2022 at Top Rank Gym. I've seen some good sparrings. I mean, there's more. I mean, Jin Suzuki, Pete Dobson was good sparring when I was out there in Japan. I mean, there's a lot I could think of. I mean, there's probably sparrings that I forgot about, but yeah. Amari Jones, Joshua Watsi was good sparring. Yugo Osaki, Anthony Garnica was good sparring. I mean, there's been a lot of good sparring, but like I said, I can't divulge what happened in those sparring sessions. I just seen them. I've been around for them. BT, many fans just look at the boxing skills, not the stamina, durability. That is why I was surprised about. I was impressed by Leo's chin. Venado hit Leo with some murderous hooks. Flush. He did. No, he did. There was a couple. There was a couple. One in particular where he dipped his head down. It was the 9th round. I was sitting ringside, and Venado threw an uppercut, and he dipped his head forward. And Venado timed it really well, and I was worried, but he took it very, very well. And that goes back all that you see right there, because Angelo's never been dropped one time in his whole career, and he's never come close to getting dropped one time in his career. But that all goes down to the training. That's all credit to his dad, Miguel Leo, having him ready, dotting the T's and crossing the I's. One of the most well prepared trainers in the fight game. That was a great idea, BT. Remind the chat. What was the idea? What did I say? I don't remember what I said. Yeah, there's a lot of sparrings throughout the years. I had it pretty tight. I had I think I might have had ball up by a point, maybe by like a point, but then when me and Porter. No, basically in 2022, Sean Porter was starting this thing called Amateur Boxing Champions. So it was supposed to be an app that he was supposed to launch that was just dedicated to covering the amateurs. And he got myself and Sean Tattel. He got in contact with both of us to be a part of it. And I said yes right away, because of course, why would I turn down the opportunity to work with a great fighter like Sean Porter, a great personality like Sean Porter. I was a fan of Sean Porter. You know, I got memories of paying my hard-earned money to sit in the nosebleeds of the Barclays Center to watch Sean Porter fight. So why would I pass up the opportunity to work with Sean Porter? It got emotional a little bit. Sean Porter actually had flown me out to Cleveland himself on his own dime. And I went out there. We had a chance to talk and converse and get to know each other really, really well. And we went to the Eastern qualifiers. We saw Carmel Moen fight Marcus Luther that day as well. And then a couple months after that, you know, things seemed to be moving along. He flew me and Sean Tattel out to Colorado Springs. And we all went to go interview all the amateurs that had qualified for the Olympics or that were getting ready to qualify for the Olympics. This is back in 2022. So that day, we interviewed Jamal Harvey, Jairo Gonzalez, Jamar Talley, Omari Jones, who's now on the pros, Roscoe Hill, Amelia Moore, Joshua Edwards, like all those fighters. We interviewed all those fighters in one day. It was me, Sean Porter, and Sean Tattel doing sit-down interviews with these fighters. And it was supposed to go on his app or his YouTube channel, and it never came out. The videographer never put it out. And like after that little trip to Colorado Springs, like Sean just got caught up with commentary work, and then he started training what's his name? Who was that fighter? Marquise Taylor. He started training Marquise Taylor and started doing commentary work and just doing got caught up in other things, and it just fizzled out, and that was it. Like that was it. So he went his way, I went my way, and that's what it is. But it's always love from Sean Porter. Sean Porter always knows that I'm always open and working with him the same way with Sean Tatel. I mean, yeah. When it comes to like Sean Tatel, Sean Porter, they asked me to collab or do anything, I'm a yes man. Those are my guys. I got a lot of respect and love for those guys for what they do, and I'm a fan of those guys. So yeah, that's the rundown to answer your question. Oh yeah, no, Sean Porter is one of the coolest guys in the whole sport of boxing. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, but like I said, man, everybody has their own schedules, everybody has their own things to do. But like I said, I love Sean Porter, and me and Sean Tatel still collab, so you guys can always look out for me and Sean Tatel to collab. And yeah. Damn, I've been talking for 2 hours and 20. So look, I'm gonna go even 2.5 hours. So I got a little under 8 minutes left, and I'm gonna get up on out of here, guys, and then go enjoy the rest of my Saturday. And then we'll come back tomorrow for tomorrow's live. I got a special guest for tomorrow. So that tomorrow's live will be a lot of fun. Yeah, Yep. Shout out to the Shawns. Yep. Shout out to the Shawns. Indeed. Hyro says, BT, I think you need new glasses. You're always giving guys clearly that don't win the championship rounds like Kovalev. No comment. I got nothing to say about that. If you say so, Hyro. If you say so, I don't have the energy to go back and forth. Yeah, no. Ruslan Abdullayev looks very, very strong. I mean, I've only seen the one fight he had recently. He looks like a promising fighter. We'll see when he steps up. Why do you believe T.O. is not a serious fighter? I just think he doesn't want to disappoint his dad and doesn't want to make a tough decision, and so bad things happen in his career at the expense of him not making that tough decision that he knows he needs to make. That's it. I hope it's Stacey McKinley. It is not Stacey McKinley. I've been trying to get Stacey McKinley in touch with him all week. Me and him have been playing phone tag the whole week. So when I pin Stacey down, that interview will happen ASAP. But no, it is not Stacey McKinley. I can say that much right now. What are your thoughts on Nakatani's manager? He seems very young and inexperienced. His manager? Who's his manager? You mean his trainer? I mean, Rudy Hernandez is pretty old, so I don't. His manager. Who's his manager? But I will say this: getting back to Stacey McKinley, because a lot of people have been requesting that Stacey McKinley interview. I'll let you know that he has agreed to do it. Me and him were supposed to do it on one particular day, but I missed his call, and then I've called him back like 2 times, and he's been busy because he's training his 154-pound prospect Alex Bray, because Alex Bray is fighting his first 10-rounder in Orlando at the end of the month. So I know he's very busy and focused on that. I'm sure when things free up, I'll be getting a call for him, and I'm gonna follow up with him soon. So, Hawker Mustang, what's good, champ? You caught me right at the tail end of the live. What's up, champ? Hope all is well. Shout out to Brandon Figueroa. Today, February the 7th, is the day of the Heartbreaker. By the way, guys, it is also worth noting that 4 days from now, it's going to be my birthday. I'll be turning 31 years young already. So I can't believe it. 31 years already. Crazy how time flies by when you're having fun. Nobody inside or outside of boxing really dislikes Sean Porter. It's hard to. He's a very easygoing, nice guy, and he fought everyone. He fought Crawford. He fought Kell Brook. He fought Spence. He fought Thurman. He fought Paulie. He fought Berto. He fought a lot of guys. He says it's the guy that was showing the box raw streams in December. He's the main translator too. He comes across as very arrogant, as if they thought they had already. Well, one thing about this game, one thing about this fight game that I've learned about from covering fights being in camps, being around different types of fighters at different levels. I mean, can't be arrogant. You can be confident, but you can't be arrogant, you know? So, if they were arrogant, that's on them. Yeah, there's probably going to be a birthday stream. There will be a birthday stream because, I enjoy very much what I do here on YouTube, covering boxing, and you guys make it very special for me. And definitely my father, my dad, 5 years ago, my dad has my dad had a lot of health problems. Even now, he has a lot of health problems, and believe it or not, like you guys coming here and just making things real fun for us as we're making it fun for you. It's helped my dad out a lot, like with his health and things like that, and it gives him something to look forward to. So I really appreciate you guys a lot, and that's why when I go to these fights and I meet people that watch the channel, I always try my best to give the viewers of the channel that say what's up as much time as possible, because I really do appreciate it. I'm not able to cover these fights and go to Japan and experience these cool things and give you guys these great videos if people don't support in the first place. So just thank you guys for 10 and a half years of just excellent work. I've been watching you since 2018. You're my favorite boxing journalist. I hope I can meet you one day. I hope so too, man. I always see you in the chat. So I can tell you for a fact the next fight I will be at will be Ryan Garcia versus Barrios. So I don't know if you're going to be at that, but I'll be at that. If not that fight, then it'll be whenever Angelo's fighting, because I'm going right to camp with him after the Mario Barrios fight, and maybe Nunez Navarrete. I'm not sure yet about that fight. I mean, I haven't applied for it. Probably not though. So yeah, definitely Barrios Garcia though. I'll be at that fight. So yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, me and Rick had a really good interview yesterday. If you guys didn't see it, go check it out. Rick's always a pleasure to talk to. Always making it really fun on here. Hyro says, why is the Florida Panthers game not until the 26th? Because right now it's the Olympic break, and I'm glad it's the Olympic break because this season has been a disaster, just the biggest disaster possible. I still got faith they'll turn it around, but it's been a disaster. But yeah, as far as fights, I'll be going to Barrios. I'll be going to Barrios Garcia. I wanted to go to Inoue and Nakatani, but I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen. But I'm not ruling it out. But as of right now, it's probably not going to happen. So yeah, I don't know. The Japan trip might not happen until the end of the year. It would have been cool if Figueroa could have been the heartbreaker on Valentine's Day. Yeah, they should have done that. And I'll tell you this. If Brandon Figueroa is able to keep the world title until Valentine's Day of next year, they need to let Brandon Figueroa do a voluntary defense or mandatory defense, any fight, on Valentine's Day of next year. I mean, look, man, Teofimo Lopez's problem started a long time ago, going back to when he fought Masayoshi Nakatani, and he never really corrected his flaws. So, when you fight the guys like Shakur Stevenson, the Shakur Stevensons of the world, all that gets exposed because Shakur's on that top level, So we'll see how it goes. I sincerely do wish Teofimo Lopez the best, because he is one of South Florida's very own. He came from the Dade Power. He went to he grew up in Broward County, like I grew up in Broward County. So, but guys, look, on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. It's been an exceptional live. It's been an exceptional day of boxing. Once again, tip of the cap goes to Brandon Figueroa. I'll be live tomorrow again at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to figure out who the guest is. Make sure you guys just stay tuned to the notification, because I'm gonna schedule it here in the next few hours. So take care, God bless, and I'll see you guys on the next live.